got all kinds of questions I want to ask you, TJ.
Dude, you know what I think is really funny is that like the opening weekend, I think, of Disneyland, they actually hired a couple of midgets, and they were supposed to be like the dwarves, and
No
they
way.
put them up on like a balcony, and they just got shit faced drunk, and they had to be removed, which is
the
just
most
like
awesome thing I've
dude,
ever
yeah,
heard.
it's like you
Listen,
got the Gimli midgets, you didn't get the seven dwarf midgets, you know, like
Have you ever chased down a drunk
over short
midget?
distances.
Oh, dude, no. No, I've actually never really hung with a midget. There was one time where
They're
some dude who
deceptively strong and
It's a little
deceptively
fun.
dense.
It's a little fun.
there was one dude who would come
It's
out
not
to
short
a bunch
on
of our
entertainment.
shows that had a midget like cousin or friend or something that only went with him one time, and I got to hang with the dude for a real short amount of time. But
Real short,
yes,
did that
a
on
real
purpose.
short
pun intended,
amount of time.
pun intended,
Yeah.
or pun unintended. Yeah,
Exactly. No, we're all going to
dude.
hell.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just having a little small talk, guys. Just chit chatting a little at the beginning of this episode. If you couldn't tell, talking about midgets. But this is gonna be TJ's.
Topic comes up a lot around here.
Yes, so
It
so
does.
when-
That's 'cause
when the
Chris
stream
has a
goes
weird
out
sexual
unexpectedly,
perversion.
It's because they managed to chew through the wires again.
It's true. Chris likes
You hate
midgets
it
a
when they
little
get
too
in the
much.
walls, dude.
You can just hear the little scratching of the hands.
Yes, Chris.
Dude, all I see now is leprechaun, dude. Just right. Could you imagine, dude, if you just like paid somebody, like paid a little person to dress up like a leprechaun and
Oh,
chase
dude.
people around on Halloween?
Oh
That'd
man,
be
That'd be
amazing.
great, man.
It would be
get 'em some,
absolutely
some,
Especially if they get
legit
real
Hollywood
drunk and
makeup.
cantankerous.
Right. Is cantankerous a word that you would only use to describe a little person?
I
Like,
do
use
use it to
cantankerous.
describe my children, and they're practically midgets. So
Well,
yeah,
see, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it just the sight of a smaller human that you want to use a bigger word?
See, I feel like I feel like I want to describe that as like grumpy. It's like, oh, he's grumpy.
Well, but there you go, right? Because
Grumpy
that's
is too short of a word, though.
yeah, and he's already a dwarf, you know. Like,
So what are you saying?
Could you
Are
imagine
saying
if there
it's
was
like
a-
we naturally overcompensate by describing little
For
people
them,
with
right.
larger
Yep,
words?
that's right.
Yeah, 'cause-
yeah,
That's right.
like like Disney and the animators decided not to call that one cantankerous. You know, we're just gonna call him grumpy. It's a little hard. It's gonna be hard for the 5-year-olds to say.
Listen, the word can't be
Also,
longer
there
than
was
he is
originally
tall.
8 dwarfs, but they decided to leave promiscuous out. So
Oh well, yeah, that's why Snow. They
mean-
they got to
you
get
mean
Snow White
horny.
to stay over sometimes.
they're like,
Yeah.
they're like,
No,
we got-
promiscuous. You got to
we got-
use a longer word.
We got dopey, grumpy, whatever,
Sleepy.
horny on the end. But then once they brought Snow White in, they're like, that one's
Yep.
got to go. We can't,
Yeah.
the script's gonna get really
they cut
weird.
the scene where he was humping her leg, all of it. It's just really
Dang it.
unfortunate.
Are you sure this isn't like a special Snow White movie that you saw one time? Right.
It's the one I got on the Pirate Bay.
That's right.
Right.
Is this the one you guys watched?
It's Horny
It's
the
not the
Dwarf.
original?
His nickname is Teapot. Think about it. Boom. Wow.
That's fantastic.
3 minutes in and we're talking about midget dicks. Hell yeah. You know? And not the small wieners, right?
It's actually longer than it should have taken.
You're right. Yeah.
We're
Is it?
behind.
Oh God. Man, they keep them coming, dude. Like,
He's top heavy. He's all dick. I can't.
right. Jesus.
Anyway.
That's how you throw one. Yeah. Like a lasso.
Pick him up by the axe handle and start
Right.
swinging him
There
around.
it is, dude. Right.
Winging them around in the air above your
my-
head like a t-shirt.
It's my little homie tripod.
North
Some call
Carolina,
him-
come on and raise up. Pick your midget, turn him
Oh.
around your head like a helicopter. Right?
Now, with all of this stuff we're talking about right now in mind, I got asked an interesting question in the chat today. If my
was
children
that?
watch any of our podcasts.
Oh hell no, dude.
Not
I was
yet.
like,
So
are
my
you serious?
my kids know I have a podcast, but they have never seen an episode.
My
For good
oldest
reason.
has seen Take Up
Stuff
the
like
Cross.
this. Yeah, that's different. That's a little different,
is
you know,
very
to keep with the little
my
jokes.
afternoon devotional show.
Right? Right? Yeah. They haven't seen your after hours, right?
That's right.
It's all midget dick talk.
why
you know?
why do you think we start every take up your cross with confession?
Oh, shoot. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I should.
Right. You
Shit,
should.
honestly, I
Dude.
think everybody in the chat could probably use it too. It's probably going to be a universal good.
Yeah,
We need to have a
true.
midget on the show one day.
we really
Oh,
do.
Yeah.
dude.
Like, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know who we could reach out to. Is Wee Man
I don't
still
know.
alive? Did he die? I thought I heard he died.
I thought.
Oh,
Didn't
no.
we? Did Wee Man die?
I
Look it
can't
up.
remember if it was
I don't
him.
know.
That
Maybe it
other
would be
one
cool
did.
to
The
have
one
Wee
who was
Man.
in Austin Powers did. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
Mini-Me?
Vern Troyer.
Yeah.
Vern Troyer.
We
yeah,
lost
I know he
Mini-Me?
died
Yeah.
a while
Damn.
ago. Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
dead for a while.
It's been
Yeah.
been some years.
You think he's 3 feet under? You only got to go halfway. That's I'm going to hell.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, we're indoctrinating TJ into his first. You guys, if you've been listen to this. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know that we do something on this show called Popcorn Podcast, which is basically
Ayo.
where we come up with questions. None of us know the other questions we're going to ask one another. Then we have a conversation, and we haven't done one in a while. But we figured that we have to do one and initiate TJ into the Popcorn Podcast world. And
Right.
so if you're new here, first and foremost, we've got a lot of new followers. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Brandon. That's Chris. This is TJ. And we're going to have a podcast. We're going to ask each other a bunch of retarded questions, probably. I got some good ones, I think. But
full returns though.
you're totally
sure.
going first, Retursda, Free Castle. You're going
Of
first
course
because
I am.
yeah, no, you have to. I mean, I think
That's
Chris probably knew that
insane.
too. He probably read my mind.
Oh yeah,
No, you're
100%.
totally
but,
going first.
Before you go,
Hazing style.
I have to do this legally
Disclaimer.
from now on.
Yeah, hold on.
but,
Cuck chair, Chris. Cuck mode on.
all opinions and viewpoints stated on this podcast are solely those of the individual stated in them, and they are not representative of any other entity, especially not the DoD or any of its subsequent organizations.
Especially
We would never dream of speaking for the DoD.
an organization small on stature, like midgets. Right?
And this is intended for entertainment purposes only. Your discretion is advised. All right, let's go.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to our sponsors and say thanks to Killcliff Energy. Love Killcliff. These guys
Absolutely.
keep this shitty podcast on the interwebs, on the airwaves, just for
For
you
now.
guys. Yep. Protect hydration and rest. Redefine violence. Skull and Crossbeans Coffee and the Light Sleeper. Check out the show notes. Get yourself something awesome. I tell you right now, the best deal you're going to find on there is definitely with Killcliff and Protect. Love both those products very, very much. Use them literally
Thank
every
you.
day.
Same.
And yeah, sweet. Okay, TJ.
I
All
literally
right.
go up on
All right, so
Killcliff
here's-
and
We're
then
gonna
down on
try to see-
Protect Rest.
That's what I'm
There
saying.
you
So
go.
here's how it works. Okay, so I don't know if you like plotted these questions out for like individually, like to
No.
Chris, like this one's for you, or they're for everybody. But
You asked
Okay,
for
cool.
tres. I gave tres that are quite
sí,
universal.
tres
man.
preguntas.
Tres preguntas para los.
Sí,
Okay.
begin. Disculpe, señor. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the smallest of the three, of course, since we were just
Yep.
speaking about
There it is.
little people. Not only that, but if this question's short, I might get through it before they chew through the wiring.
I can hear him in the walls right now.
If there was anything positive or acknowledgingly decent you could say about people on the left,
Whoa.
what would it be?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Of course,
Okay.
right?
All right. So here's what I'll say. When you talk about I have a question about your question, but do you mean like the modern left, or do you just mean like the liberal left in general?
The modern left. Just,
Okay.
I guess what we would
Okay.
declare currently from
Uh-huh.
our standpoint as the opposition.
Okay. I'll say this. I guess first and foremost, it's absolutely necessary to have the other half of the conversation. So that's a positive, right? The other thing I would say is that I think the left tends to be a little bit more soft-hearted than the right in some respects, which I think it can be a good thing too, like in that way. And then I would say that they care about specific things that are definitely things that go under the radar, so to speak. Like they care more about like animal rights and, you know, shit like that, I guess, which matters, you know, but like not in the way that like I know that the right cares about stuff like that too, but they're not vocal about it in that way, you know? So like these are like things I would say the left cares more about. And so like that's a good thing. But it's their message has gotten so lost in the fringe nonsense of their half, I guess you could say, that it just drowns out all of that good. But there are, I mean, I know people who are liberal and they're like, man, I want nothing to do with this nonsense over here about kids and SSRIs and, sex change surgery for 12-year-olds and shit. Like, I feel like most people that stick to that, and they're just like company men. Like, they're going to bottom line with the party no matter what, because it's so adjacent to their ego that letting go of it would be just absolutely existentially impactful, right? And so I think that those things I said are like positive things about the left. I'm sure we, in the course of the conversation, will find a few other things. But that's like the immediate thing that came to mind.
Dig it, dude.
I really like this question because I think it's important to understand your enemy, right? And like there's definitely a certain amount of analyzing that needs to be done. So I was not expecting this to be the way that we started, but
no, it's good.
Yeah, two things. I think that I respect their fucking persistence. Like persistent as a damn yeast infection, dude. Like a bad case of athlete's foot.
God, I hope
and you
not.
gotta respect
Who's yeast?
Right. And you do. You have to respect it. Like, it's been decades, and if you look at the basis point of left-wing progressive ideology, it's all Marxist at its core. Definitely, where it all goes back to, and it has survived for decades. And if you look at the number of countries that it has just destroyed as it's marched through them, and yet somehow it keeps convincing people to be a part of it. It's fucking
it's a
persistent.
Classic good on paper.
And you
Absolutely.
got to respect that. And then two, there's going to be a caveat to this, but leftists organize better.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
They just do.
For certain.
They just organize better.
I'd say though
the
that
right
this
needs to get its
election
organization game on point. However, the caveat to that is they've also unfairly been platformed to where it's like if the right was to try to use the same methods to organize, I mean, look at what the different platforms have done to conservatives and right wingers. Just deplatformed, kicked off, can't do that, debanked. Right. So it's like, even though they have an unfair advantage, they organize better and they're fucking persistent. You got to give them that.
I would say that this election saw way more cohesiveness on the right half of the country, especially on the movers and shaker half of the right wing side. Right?
I agree.
And that little bit of cohesiveness and coordination went a long way. I mean, it definitely helped that Biden absolutely is the worst president in modern history. I say that without even trying to be funny. I objectively think that to be true, right?
Absolutely.
But I agree with you, Chris. Their persistence is ridiculous. And I will say this. This is a tenet of classical liberalism, and we've talked about this, and I will credit Will Kingston, the episode that we have with him, for saying this and reminding everybody about it, but free speech is a tenet of classic liberalism, and that's another positive, even though the modern left certainly does not believe in free speech.
For sure. To your point about the organizing making a big difference, I really hope that the powers that be recognize that and don't fall apart now, because case in point, if they give up on the Pete Hegseth front and they give up on the Kash Patel front, they don't keep an organized front on this is, like it or not, the Republican Party is Trump's party now. So it's the MAGA party, not classic Republican Party. And if they don't keep that, then you're going to see 2017 all over again, where Americans aren't going to get the government that they voted for because classic neocon rhino Republicans are obstructing, what the will of the people is. And they'll, it's like this whole Jody Ernst versus Pete Hegseth thing is a perfect example of that. So they need to recognize like what got them here, and you got to dance with the one who brought you, right? You don't bite the hand that feeds you, and like they're flirting dangerously close with that line. of just
So-
spitting back in the eye of the American people.
So to
No
your
doubt.
point about keeping the same momentum, I go back to a line from a movie fairly often because I think there's dialogue in this script that isn't just good movie dialogue, it's significantly profound dialogue. And it's from Dark Knight Rises with Bane, Bane's
Yeah.
character, Tom Hardy's Bane.
Great film.
And in that scene where Batman goes to confront Bane for the first time, and Bane, he says, "There's no need to stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne." That line, right?
Yeah.
But when he says, "Peace has cost you your strength, victory has defeated you," I've used that line so many times to talk about the United States because I think it's a perfect way to analogize just sort of the behavior of the United States overall. But that is the wrong sort of attitude to have going into the midterms. You cannot let peace cost you your strength, right? You get too comfortable sitting on your laurels, you grow weak, complacent. And, I don't think that's going to happen because we know some people in the background who are out here working. And by working, I mean like fucking working in a lot of different ways. And I think that we've learned an important lesson. I think 2020 showed a lot of people on the right that you can't get comfortable, which is why there was such a big push to go out and vote this year, and especially harping on like the angler, the 2A community, the military community to go vote because notoriously we don't go vote. So I think we've learned that lesson. But to go back to your question, TJ, which is a really good question. That's what I would say. I think that they're a little bit bigger hearted, I guess. And I mean, that's a good thing for sure.
It's you reminded me of a Winston Churchill quote, right? And I'm gonna try and get it right here from memory without having to look it up. But I believe he's the one that said, "If you're young and conservative, you have no heart, and if you're old and liberal, you have no brain." And there should be a natural arc of a person to, like, when you're younger and more inexperienced, then you should be mostly feeling the world, right? Otherwise, you're a sociopath if you can't. And then as you get older and you apply a little bit of experience to that, then then you should be able to apply a little bit more brain and thought process to something, because been there, burnt my hand on that before.
It's actually, I looked it up for you, and it says that it's attributed to Churchill because there's no evidence that he actually said it.
That's one of my favorite quotes too.
Yeah, it says. So I'll give you the full thing. It says the quote that's missing. The quote that's misattributed to him is, "If you're not a liberal at 20, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative at 40, you have no brain."
Okay.
It says, but the variations of the sentiment have been expressed by others such as Francois Guizot, a 19th century French statesman who said, "Not to be a Republican at 20 is proof of want of heart. To be one at 30 is proof of want of head." And I always want head. So.
For sure.
For sure. That was a good
That's
question.
why.
That's fantastic. That's a good rip, y'all.
That's why midgets like to date the normal sized ladies.
Right.
Because when they nose to nose, his toes is in it, and then when they toes to toes, his nose is in it.
There you go. Chris has a plethora of midget jokes, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if ever Chris got arrested, it wouldn't surprise me that he got arrested for having like a midget zoo in his basement. He just goes down there.
First of all, it's a wrestling ring, and we don't talk about that.
I thought you were going to say.
Oh, see, look, he's already got plans. Right, it could be
Come and
whatever.
Just take out all his aggression.
Chris is just down there with his finger in his belly button. It's being weird. This is Wisconsin. I can do what I want.
Feed me more grapes, small boy.
Right. There it is.
Don't talk
exactly.
about Little Fight Club, okay?
That's right. First word of Little Fight, or first rule of Little Fight Club. Keep your little mouth shut.
That's right.
Right? Don't run your little mouth.
Don't run your little mouth, little man.
Is that how you talk to him? We throw on like the most retarded hick accent. We don't even have one.
Yeah. Better shut your
fucking mouth, man.
It's got to turn into Zed from It's got to turn into Zed from Pulp Fiction kind of talking. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Birdie mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah. It's
Terrible,
bad,
dude.
It's bad.
By the way, I think it's one of the greatest moments in like cinematic history when Bruce Willis goes in there and he's looking at Marcellus and he just goes, "Hey man, you okay?" Marcellus is like, "Nah, I'd say I'm pretty fucking
You
far
don't
from
care.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then he just leaves.
Mhm.
That's a terrible, terrible thing.
That's what I imagine it's like getting out of the army. I haven't been there yet, but I think that's probably what it's like.
It's like that while you're
think
in
it's
the
gonna be
military
pretty
too.
close.
You know,
Yeah.
Except
Nah,
just getting
man.
pounded in the ass.
Nobody's
all
going
the
to
time,
come and help
Pretty
you out with
fucking
the
far
katana or
from okay.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
All
just
right.
going to get the other part.
Are we doing he's
Am I-
gonna
am
Oh,
I
yeah,
doing
that
a
was
empty
it.
his
straight
load all
run?
at once, or are we going
no,
around the horn?
Nope, we're gonna go around the horn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
All you cuck chair, Chris.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, what is what's your guys' greatest pet peeve? Oh, wait, is he going to answer
You
his
already
own
know
question?
this.
Is he going to answer his own question though? Sorry, before I take off on this.
Oh, true.
Yeah, is he going to answer?
He
his
should
own
have
question?
to answer his own question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit,
for
I
sure.
would be absolutely happy to.
All right, there you
I concur with the vast majority of what you guys said, and there was a lot of things I wanted to throw in the midst, but I didn't know if that was breaking the rules.
No.
So I kept my mouth shut.
This is more like
Well,
freeform
Your little
jazzy,
mouth
dude.
shut, right?
Yeah.
Little mouth.
Primary one is most certainly their organization, and their organization is dual faceted, though. I look at it as a strength and a weakness both. Part of their organization is done because of the fact that they have people at the top who have been playing 4D chess, essentially, that have been thinking for decades and decades about how they can start to sculpt the country into what they want it to be, to move it more towards that socialist or globalist type agenda. The complication is the vast majority of the people who are maintaining that organization as they protest and do everything else is because they're sheeple. So they're a bunch of very weak-willed people who are being directed as to what to do all the time, and that's why they seem to be so organized, is because 90% of them are compliant. And that is one of the problems that we face being these good red-blooded Americans, is we want to keep our independence. We want to feel as if more of us are leaders than followers, so we have a tendency to butt heads a little bit more, even over just the fine little matters and principles of things, to where we should kind of go, hey, we got to really organize and get our shit together here, or we're going to have a serious problem. We'll get hung up on all the fray all the time, and it's one of the weakest points there is as far as the right is concerned.
I totally agree with that, and I'll take it this way too, and say that I think that people who tend to be more left leaning need that sort of being told what to do sense of community, whereas people on the right want community, but it's like a group of individuals coming together and having a community that you all can be reliant upon one another to take care of yourselves, and then collectively take care of a problem, but not. Does that make more sense? That's why I think
definitely.
It's so funny. I actually had this conversation with a few people, but Europeans tend to look at themselves as more of a collective, right? And one of the critiques Europeans have about Americans, and they can go fuck themselves on this one, is that there's too much individualism in the United States, right? And I would say, where's your First and Second Amendment, right? But that's a good thing, right? But I do think it's really interesting, as somebody who does like visiting Europe and has lived there several times.
Right.
I think that the liberal left finds the government infrastructure of Canada and Europe to be so appealing because it is sort of in loco parentis form of government. Right. And I think that just speaks to what you're saying about wanting to have something to tell you what to do, and then needing that sort of direction in their life. I think it also has a lot to do with being afraid of interacting with other people too, because they tend to only do it when there's strength in numbers. But anyway.
Well, I mean, look at who we got over here in the United States. We have all of the people from Europe who had the intrepid enough spirit to sail the ocean and come over and go to a place they didn't know yet and conquer a new land. We got the best of them, and then everybody that was left over there are all the cucks and cowards that weren't willing to go.
Well, that's why you think Australia would be more badass.
We have a different. It sounds,
we have a pioneering mentality.
We do, and it's in the DNA of what it is to be American. It really is. And then I think that you're absolutely right, TJ, when you talk about the difference in mentality of the two parties, because it's like on the left, they can literally spout the talking points like to the letter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is a woman? I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I can't tell you that. Like, they know, and they're
Right.
up on like all the latest lingo, and they get in lockstep, and nobody says a thing outside of the party lines. And then over on the right, people are like, what's your favorite Federalist paper? And you're like, I don't know, number 61. They're like, wrong. He's not a real conservative, everybody. And you're like, whoa, you know. And we do, we do that to each other, to where it's like, I saw a church break up one time because they had an argument over what type of carpet to put in. And you'll see that type of stuff with conservative people all the time, where they're squabbling over, you know, the dumbest, most minute thing. And we're over here screaming like, guys, like we've lost the plot. They're cutting kids' nuts off.
Y'all, Jesus wants cornflower blue. Jesus wants cornflower blue. Get out of here with this evergreen. No one wants that in here.
It was hilarious. The church split right down the middle.
I prayed
over it.
And they want cornflower blue. That's what Jesus said.
God told me
in my dream. Well, I had another dream. I had another dream. Who said you were wrong.
Yeah.
I've actually heard
whenever somebody comes to me, they say that God gave them a thing to tell me, and I'm always like, well, you can keep it to yourself, because if he needs to tell me, he'll tell me.
Exactly.
My favorite are the people that those videos I see of men standing in front of congregations and be like, Daddy God told me that I was going to meet my wife here at this church, and I went to Walmart and bought a ring. So if God put it on your heart, ladies, to talk to me, let's get married.
Yeah. First one to the stage.
First one to the stage gets this 1 carat cubic zirconium.
First one
from
to the
Walmart.
stage gets syphilis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. And for all you ladies who might get your heart broken by not getting up here fast enough, I've got 2 $25 Chick-fil-A gift cards.
Yeah.
But you can't use them today because it's Sunday.
You guys have heard the jokes, right, about what it's like to be at a Christian college? You come back after winter break, and there's always that one sad dude that's not, you know, engaged yet. And then there's the ugly chick, and then they find each other, and you're like, okay, everything's good.
Oh, that's
everything got balanced out.
Everything is right with the world.
Here at Southern Baptist Unitarian Church College, we're all looking for wives.
Yeah.
That's it.
Some of us for 3 or 4 of them.
That's in Utah.
That's Brigham Young. Anyway,
Yeah, that's-
so all right.
That's also Joe Biden's university's name, Brigham Young.
But it was
Chris's is bring him short.
That's right. Well, I'm only 5'9", so if I can't look over your head, then we got.
Yeah.
All right.
Chris just
Anyway,
actually likes to feel really tall. That's all it is.
What is? It's no. I got short white man's disease. I'm not afraid to admit it. All right. So anyway, what is your guys' greatest pet peeve in the workplace? And I'll give you an example, because mine, this might be a little obtuse, but I cannot stand or abide lazy people. Right? Like the person that goes up to, and it's like, you will get the standard, maybe even minus a half a point. No more, no less. I think they even came up with like a new term like a few years ago. It was like quiet quitting or something, where it's like you only get, you know, you can see it in like little things. Like somebody will try out a dry erase marker,
like
and it's
4-2
out,
little things,
and then they'll put it back by the dry erase board instead of like doing the 30-second thing of throwing it away and getting a new one. And then you come behind them and you're like, what the?
It's everyone in my house.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating. I hate lazy people. I can't stand it. I can't abide it. That's my thing.
TJ.
I get to start this one off.
Yeah,
this is going to be an interesting one, because I've actually been self-employed for quite some time. I've actually been self-employed.
He hates
for
himself.
About
right, yeah.
I've been
I
self-employed.
can't stand my employee. That guy sucks.
I've been self-employed since right after we found out my wife was pregnant with our first child. So over 12 years, well, 13 actually about this point in time. It's been about 13 freaking years. So long time. However, I have worked with a lot of people on job sites, because a lot of times I'm going in and I'm doing integration while buildings are being built. So definitely the tidiness is a huge thing because, of course, I'm going in with sensitive equipment. I'm helping installing like,
Yeah.
panoramic imaging systems. I'm putting in servers and everything, and there is just junk everywhere. Dudes are throwing like, you go by and there's cutouts in the walls where I'm supposed to be dropping in and just finishing off Cat 6 or something, and you got like
electricians
cans.
are the worst too.
There's like cans
electricians,
stuffed
dude, they
inside
just
the
snip all
junction
their
box
stuff and
holes.
leave it right there, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. There's stuff everywhere, but I mean, literally, like cans and water bottles are stuffed in the wall and all the junction box holes and stuff. And you're like,
yeah.
Yep.
So that's definitely a huge one. The clutter. When I was working in an office building, the number one thing that I would ever see detriment everybody is like either people having discussions kind of like we have political discussions, but particularly like the interfeuding, the gossip amongst people about other employees is the first thing that crashes everything. And it seems like anytime you're new somewhere, I remember when I very first I took and I was a network admin right off the bat at a place that I first walked into. They moved me right into the position immediately from my resume. And right off the bat, and this was at a law firm, kind of as a light disclosure here, the legal secretaries all were like divided in like three different groups of these little cliques, like a bunch of freaking high school kids. And right off the bat, they would all start coming to me and trying to give me reasons why I should be helpful to they were divided in floors, and they would give me reasons why I should be helpful to their floor and then talk shit about everybody else. Be like, oh yeah, if you help us get stuff done, we're going to make sure we say everything good about you to the partners, we'll talk you up and everything. The last guy we had, as a network admin here, he's a total moron. He didn't know what he was doing. We were always having problems, but we can tell you're really sharp, buddy. And then it was just like, oh yeah, if you talk, I'll just throw a rando name. If you talk to Brooke downstairs, she's a total whore. She slept with like half the guys in this practice. And I'm like,
Jesus.
That was like day one.
Bro,
like,
to me,
if
if it's like
floor, she must not be very good at it.
if you're willing to talk shit that easy about somebody that to me who you've never met, you're going
automatic
to do
red
it.
flag.
Yeah, you're going to do it about me immediately.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. But and in that particular environment was probably the worst one that I'd ever been in, but it was like everyone, even the partners.
That makes
You
sense
talk
for
to the
lawyers.
law partners, and the law partners were talking crap about their partners. They're in this partnership together, and
Business.
be like, "Oh, you've been talking to Jason? I don't like Jason, bro. Just a word of advice, man. I've been here longer than Jason has, dude. Don't believe anything that motherfucker says, man." I'm like, bro, I'm just here to
Bro,
make
he
sure
took
that all you
pictures
guys.
of you in the shower.
Isn't
Just
he
making
your
sure your
son's
tech is working.
godfather?
Right?
No
It's
shit.
like,
Is that the guy I saw out last weekend with your wife? Oh,
Ooh. Yeah, that's why I say don't trust him because I hate that
that's
chick.
That's how the gossip starts. But yeah, that and just I guess the last bit I'd throw in on that is just a lack of organization. And I'm not like a micromanaging, organized kind of guy to where I like to keep a freaking day minder, or keep my little BlackBerry going or anything like that.
I could
do
see
try
you
to
with a
keep
really
certain things.
flowery planner.
Yeah.
no, dude, he's the serial sticky noter. I can tell that about him right now. I
Sticky
guarantee
noter.
if we turn that camera around, he's just got sticky notes on sticky
No,
notes.
I actually don't have a single sticky note at all. If you could see all my monitors, I actually allowed my kids to come through here at one point in time, and my daughter was in a sticker phase years ago. And the outside of all of my monitors are completely lined with stickers of like rabbits and freaking butterflies. I've got donuts with animals crawling out of them over here. I've got Darwin from
Richard
the
Gere stickers.
Amazing World of Gumball. I've got I have a Slytherin sticker down here. I've even got a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air sticker over here that my son got at school once.
What kind of
As a
what
retro
is the
sticker.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air sticker? Is it like Carlton?
It has the whole entire whole cast one by one, all in like what look like Polaroids all the way around it with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air right in the middle, dude.
Oh wow.
So yeah, pretty
man.
wicked, man. And I've got a junior firefighters badge that my youngest got at a firefighter
Well,
thing that they
now I
did at
respect
school
you
one
even
I could
more.
tell you, dude, if I was over there, because that I can't stand. I'd be like, everybody, this is a story all about how you're cleaning up these stickers right fucking now. Get in here.
Yeah, and around that, believe it or not, where I haven't, if everybody who's been listening to Take Up Your Cross has heard, there are kind of a small partial wall section, and then the area where all of my monitors are here and the area where the TV is up above are the only areas that I have not finished working on in here yet. And it's because all of the like love you dad goofy school pictures and stuff are all tacked all over the walls through this whole entire area above the monitors around this TV and all the way out this way. all over the place, and I haven't decided where I want to put them or what I want to do with them to make sure that I'm not actually hurting anybody's feelings by taking them down. So
Hell yeah.
that's
I don't know if you can see. I have one in
tough one.
here
Mm-hmm.
that Carson asked me if he could hang in the studio, and so that's the
There
I
it
got
is.
one
Heck
too.
yeah, dude. Yeah, no, mine are all off cam, but they're all right in front of my face, including some weird stuff I've drawn. My children have talked me into drawing. Everybody said I was a really good artist, but art was never what I liked. I was into music, but I've drawn a lot of very interesting things. We'll say that. I actually took a old
Any midgets?
coloring book. No,
Ah,
no midgets.
Tentacles,
no midgets.
dude. Guarantee you, Jason. The
No, no
tentacles.
tentacles, no tentacles. But I did take an old coloring book of like a whole bunch of Crayola, like big black outlined, silly looking, big eyed kind of cutesy creatures. And I went through a phase of taking and redetailing them with artist pens, whiting out sections of them with gel pens and everything, modifying their whole entire composition, and then coloring them and making them look like the most like twisted and horror built, like decrepit things. And
That's cool.
my wife thought that was really neat, so she held on to a handful of those. Man, I got quite a few of those too. So. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff in my wheelhouse. That's why I always try to leave things open for people to ask me questions about anything, because honestly, man, as I said once before, when you said that you saw that you popped into me telling my life story, it wasn't even 15 minutes of a story that will take me 15 years just to tell about the last, period of my life. It's been crazy, all the different things that I've had to do, all the places I've been, people I've met, the stuff that's happened along the way, the million different positions I've held in between, so to speak, whether they were paid or not. Just it's been a weird road. But yeah, workplace
no, I
wise,
feel
those were
that.
my biggest things, man. The gossip and people's lack of organization on projects, where you just come to somebody and say, okay, where are we sitting with this? And they'd be like, what part are you referring to? And you always know they don't have a damn clue what you're talking about when they start
Right.
asking weird questions.
I mean,
that
and
are
that's
disjointed.
where it's like, dude, just own up to it. Like, don't ever try to
Exactly.
bullshit people. Just look at somebody and be like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, that's not on my radar right now, but I can go get you. I can go get you an answer and get it back to you.
Hey,
really
bro,
quick.
I'm not
I
gonna
wasn't
lie.
thinking about that
When
right
you
now.
asked me that a week ago.
Yeah.
I went home and
I wet my
I got
ass with it and
tanked
threw it up a tree.
Right. And
yeah.
fucked off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, oh,
No, I think my biggest pet peeve at work, it kind of ties into a little bit of what you were talking about with the law firm, TJ. But being that the military is my biggest work experience, I would say it's the hypocrisy from people in leadership positions, completely and totally. Because they will do the same stupid bullshit that the lower E's do, right? They'll do it worse and then act like they don't do it, and then basically pretend like they're too good for that shit. I fucking hate that sort of hypocrisy from people. Like, I know you're talking shit about me, I know you're talking shit about other people, and then you're going to get behind closed doors and be dishonest with me about something. I hate that crap. And then
it's
the other thing I hate,
100% better to have 12 E4s in a room than it is to have 12 E7s in a room.
yeah. No,
More
and then
will get done with the lower enlisted
I could certainly
guys.
see that, and I can see that structured out in a normal office place as well, just the same.
yeah.
I mean, the higher people move up the ladder, the more kind of, I guess, basically you could say the lazier they become. They expect that all of their responsibilities will fall down on their subordinates.
So here's the thing,
So-
man. Like, there's, and this is like the Air Force in general. There are too many fucking senior non-commissioned officers in the Air Force, so they make up jobs for these fucking people. And most of them, all they do is plan out like wing or group level events and don't do shit all fucking day except go to lunch
Right.
and gamble on their fucking phone. And I'm talking about a specific person, right?
I was like, that's way too
Dude,
specific.
that's way too specific. Dude, I'm not even playing. They'll tell you
Stop
that
talking about John.
they'll tell you that they've been retired on active duty for the past year, and that's why they haven't done shit for you, right? No, but I mean, like, this is just a problem, like, these people, they hold so much power over your career in their hands, and they're dishonest, they're lazy, they don't want anything to do with real work because they feel like they've already done it, and they're so far removed from it now that they are like almost like terrified and unwilling to go back and realize or remember where they fucking came from. I hate that shit, and then I fucking hate people. You tell them something, and then they keep fucking asking you a question. Not like I don't know how to do it, right? Like I need help with this. That's not what I mean. I've already explained something to you, and then you ask me like you've never heard it before, right? And I'll explain it to you again. And then you're like totally fucking clueless about it because you're not fucking
Absolutely.
listening. I hate that shit, dude. And the people who
Yeah,
repeat
no, I can
themselves.
agree with that too.
And the
From
people who
a
repeat
superior
themselves.
position, it wasn't all that
And the
often
people
that
who
I
repeat
worked in.
themselves.
Yeah, most definitely. From a superior position, it wasn't something that I worked in too often because there was only a few different times where I had, per se, like a group of people underneath me. The position that I was a network admin in, it was a title. I ran the IT for the whole entire place. I was given an assistant, but my assistant's job was to like go get crap for me. They didn't have the first clue about anything to do with technology.
Yeah.
And when I had moved up from that position and I took a position with an oil and gas firm that was bought out by Techcoast Petroleum about 18 months after I had started, I was given the position of IT director, but I was the only person who worked in IT at all over 244 workstations. One man, took care of everything, man. Worked
turn
my
them all
butt
off and turn them back
about
on again.
65 hours a hour.
That's it, dude.
Yeah.
Just unplug
Freaking
everybody's
hardcore stuff.
HDMI. It's an office full of boomers. They're done.
Oh no! I
For real.
can't
I make
Yeah,
log
140
into
a
my-
year.
I
And
can't
it
log into
wasn't
my
just all
email.
the workstations
But did
or
you-
the blade centers or the
did you remember
SAS
your
arrays or
password?
anything else that I took care of there.
What's a
It
password?
was also all of the company assigned phones. 120 of the employees had company phones. And I was responsible for all the company phones and making sure that there wasn't any like extraneous charges, people, making calls that weren't in the plan and stuff like that using
What's
them
with
for
these
personal stuff they weren't
1-900 numbers,
supposed to.
John?
Exactly. You're like,
wasn't me.
explain this to me.
My phone got
But
hacked.
I guess in reference to what you were saying, Brandon, in my opinion, when you do have people working underneath you, which I did when I was younger, of course, I guess one of my biggest pet peeves there is for anybody who is supposed to be a superior, they should be able to do the job better than anybody they are asking to do the job. Like the way that I like to be able to
Sure.
show stuff out, and I still do it to this day. My father-in-law, no, I'm not going to get too much into him because he's kind of a dingus, but and I don't care if he's watching, he's a dingus. But it's he's got a landscaping company, and I've gone out with his guys before because I do so much work with technology. But back when I was first starting to get into tech, I was working as a backflow inspector. So I used to do like sweat-ons of like deep commercial backflows, which are in manholes down in the ground. So I'd have to sweat those in. I'd have to put the monitoring systems for them in and everything and make sure that they were certified annually.
How many men's holes would you say that you have been in while you were doing that?
I will neither-
Answer
I
the
will neither
question.
You
confirm
gotta
nor
answer.
deny.
This is the
I will
popcorn.
neither-
You got to answer.
Answer
I
the
will neither
question, TJ.
confirm nor deny exactly what takes place when it's cold in the Rocky Mountains. Men are men and sheep are scared. No.
Holy crap.
But no, what I still do to this day is, of course, a lot of these dudes are much younger than I am that are working for his company now. But I can go out and I'll say, hey, I need you guys to lay a line trench in here because we're going to run a main line and I'm going to put a bunch of wiring in so that I can set up an irrigation timer that's going to be hooked to these guys' smart home system, and they're going to be able to mess with everything from their cell phone or whatever. And I'll come back and there'd be like 30 foot of trench dug in a time where I know I could have dug 300 foot of it by myself. So I'll grab a trenching shovel and blaze 4 dudes and do more work than all 4 of them combined could do, and still do it, being far, far older, being twice their age. And I think that's important. If you're going to ask somebody to do something and then they're going to sit there and kind of act as if they don't know what they're doing or do a shitty job at it, you have to have the capability to step up and actually show them how to do the job. And, that's, I think that accountability
You got to stop
is
making so
extremely
much
important.
sense.
It just goes back to
You guys get
something
to
that
take all this from a different tangent because I'm sure both of you guys, pretty much the vast majority of your career lives at your age have been spent in the military more than anything else. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting wheelhouse to come from. Me, I was all over the boards for a little bit because it always I was a grass is greener kind of dude in that sense. Because I didn't end up going into the career I originally wanted to, I ended up in a whole bunch of careers that I didn't really care about. I was just looking to try to make sure that I had security and money. So if somebody was like, "Hey, man, I got something better for you. You'll make 85 here," and I'd be like, "Okay." Give 2 weeks, gone. Somebody else says, "Hey, man, I got something better for you over here. You're going to still make 85, but you're going to get full benefits." Okay. 2 weeks, gone. and then it would go up and up. And that's kind of what I did for quite a while until I started getting really deep into IT with some companies, and they were starting to talk about me being sort of in that independent level of, we're going to have you go ahead and just direct everything, and we're going to pay you a good solid salary and take it direct, not erect, but also erect, direct while erect.
I mean, there's only one way to get in men's holes. You have to erect some things.
Right.
Well, two ways. You have to erect things, and you have to have a proper amount of lubricant applied. So
I'll take your word for it.
Like you don't know, man. You know where you guys have been, just hanging out with the boys.
That's it, dude. All right, I think it's my turn for a question.
There's a rule we have in the medical field, and there's a few things that you can never have enough of. Medical tape is one of them. Lubricant's the other. If you're gonna use it, be generous on the lubricant. I'm just like that's
awesome.
That's what she said.
True. It's just true, man.
Well, you
You
put
can never
the two of
have
them
too
together.
much lube. You can have too little lube, but you can never have too much.
If you wrap enough medical tape around somebody's wrists simultaneously, is it hard to get out of?
Med tape?
Yeah, but
Dude,
before you apply the lubricant.
What the fuck? On that note.
Now you're giving away trade secrets.
On that
All
note,
right.
yes, exactly. We will move
right.
to Brandon.
Okay. Here we go. Mine is a little out there, obviously. If aliens landed tomorrow and demanded humanity's best cultural artifact as a peace offering, what's the one thing that you would show them to avoid total human annihilation?
Well, not Taylor Swift. We're keeping that one hidden.
We're not encouraging total annihilation.
We want to say
Exactly,
humanity, right? Our greatest
Humanity's best cultural artifact as a peace offering.
Wow. Do. You got something, TJ? I gotta think for just a little bit longer.
This was an above ASVAB Army score question.
I was trying not to
sure.
clank my springs while drinking. That is a very, very interesting one, because in my opinion, of course, the best, I guess the most important artifacts in our world are the artifacts that are a testament to the resurrection of Jesus Christ, things like that. And I would not want to, I guess, in service to God, in relation to Scripture, doing anything as sacrilegious as giving any of those as an offering to anybody, to me, would be essentially worse than the death. So I'd have to pull a sneaky one and give them something that I could act as if was just as significant.
What would
And
that
that's
be?
where it gets difficult. Oh.
This is hard, Brandon.
Bacon cheeseburger,
welcome.
brother. Bacon
Bacon
cheeseburger.
See?
cheeseburger.
That'll change everything.
Why?
By itself right there? Because it's delicious, bro. I'll tell you what, food in general, it was a sarcastic answer, but a genuine one at the same time. The thing that unifies, and I've talked about this before, people from all different cultures in our world can eat food together, and you can feel a unity, almost like universal language in the enjoyment of food. Now, the specific food, that would be a difficult one, because of course we're a multicultural world, so we've got foods from all kinds of different countries and continents that are fantastic. But if these are truly alien beings, and this is their first time visiting Earth, they'll have never tasted anything that is of Earth.
Is a bacon cheeseburger a cultural artifact though?
That's, well, kind of, yeah.
Is it?
People think that the cheeseburger is like a symbol of.
Maybe this is like one of those like
Americans.
2-year-old
I mean, if you think
McDonald's
about the other
cheeseburgers that
countries
doesn't
you've
go
been to,
bad.
Man, they think that everybody from the United States is most certainly based in a culture of Coca-Cola cheeseburgers, Mickey
They're
Mouse.
not that far off.
No, not really, dude. But no. Ugh, that's the part that gets tough, man. Is
Chris is two brain cells over there fighting it out for the answer.
No, I think I got it. I'm
Okay.
gonna.
nice. Well, we will pan back to you.
I'm
for
gonna
a moment
have
as I
them
try to
sit
come up with something
down
better than
and
the
and
cheeseburger.
show them an original screening of Independence Day.
Oh,
Hmm.
like the whole movie?
The whole movie.
Mm.
and then in hopes
What are they going to
of-
do when they find out Will Smith is a cuck?
Exactly. I was going to say you're going to show him the Chris Rock slap afterward.
Right.
I'm going to show them the movie, and then hopefully while they're all sitting down and watching the movie, we can be in the background getting our strategy together and mounting a defense. So by the time the 90-minute or 93-minute run out time goes.
My concern is we'd
We
be
can
kind of
show
like
them
showing
what
them
we
how
got.
to beam and blow up our capital and stuff. Instead.
True.
Yeah. Or
They'll
maybe
be like,
maybe a
"Oh,
better
that's how we were
move would
supposed
be
to introduce
all
ourselves."
three Lord of the Rings extended editions. That way we can get a little more time out of it. So that way they're stuck in the
Sure.
theater for like 12 and a half hours. Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
If you were looking for a stall tactic, I would try to give them something pretty profound to try to mess with and say, okay, well, you have been here, you've been observing human beings. If they are, by any chance supposed to be, a superior race, so to speak, or have superior technology and ability to kind of easily examine biology, kind of see what we are, show them the pyramids, ask them how that was done.
What if they're like, dude, we built those?
That would be
We
some
knew
stuff.
about that.
Then we would have the answers we're looking for, man.
Like we're here
It
for
would be
those.
beneficial. We'd be like, oh shit, that explains everything. And then they rise up out of the sand. That's actually on a funny side tangent. That's something I guess along the lines of some of the other pods you guys used to do before that I thought would be sort of interesting to cover.
we just put a bunch of midgets on a plate. We're like,
Explain this. Explain this. Their blood
guys-
is magical. I said that in our pod from the other night, and I had forgotten it. But while we were in the chat, I actually heard myself say it, and I went, "This is why all my stuff has stopped working." I was like, "Yeah, they have magical blood."
have you guys ever seen what's it? The World's End? I think it's called The World's End. The movie's got the two dudes that were in what's his name? Sean whatever. The dudes that were in they made that zombie movie, and now Robert Frost and Sean. Now I'm gonna have to look.
Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. It's the dudes from Shaun of the Dead.
yeah.
They did that
Okay.
movie called The World's
And
End,
Hot
where
Fuzz?
they do the yeah, that's another great one. But they do the pub crawl, and it's supposed to end up at the World's End, which is the final
Right.
pub at the end. And then they find out like through the course of the movie that it's just like an alien invasion. They've been replacing people all throughout the town because they're trying to bring peace to humanity. And they're like, every other civilization that we've ever conquered, we don't have to usually replace this many people, but humanity's so fucked up we had to replace like over half of you. And it's like they get way far into it. And then toward the end, when they're standing there and they yelling at the aliens, they're like, we're just trying to give you peace. What is it you humans want? And he's like, we just want to get fucked up and have a good time and do what we want to do. And the aliens look at each other and they're just like, fuck it. It's not worth it arguing with them. And then the aliens just fuck off and they go away. And I was like, that movie probably has more truth to it than most other alien invasion movies.
I mean, like, if you're going to travel across the galaxy or the universe to come here, I think you could be...
I'll tell you what, dude. Trying to step away from the gate before I stick with cheeseburger forever, because that's I was just being a smart ass.
Okay.
I was trying to think of something that would really truly be profound, but wouldn't take away from something.
Simon
bound in
Pegg,
faith,
that's
man,
his name,
you guys
Simon
know
Pegg,
I'm really
and Nick
stuck
Frost.
to. I'm very
Robert
devout
Frost.
to my faith, and I think it's in Austria. So we'd have to, do a little negotiating to get that if the aliens visited us right here in the good old US of A first. But Venus of Willendorf, that weird
Venus
fat
of
little doll.
Willendorf, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
It's like 30,000 plus years old, man.
Wanna
It's one of
pull
the
it up?
oldest artifacts they've
Yeah.
found intact that is a representation of a human being that is supposed to have been from the Ice Age, essentially. Not anything that really rips away from faith, but it's something that kind of shows an advancement of humanity because it is an extremely detailed, like, carving. I don't know why.
I want to say,
she's
just
so chubby.
preface, if anybody's never seen this before, this is what I imagine that Lizzo looks like without clothes on.
I said it was a
But that's
chubby
it.
little lady doll, man.
That's it, though.
Mm-hmm. Where do the
Well,
arms
it's
go?
the I think I don't know, maybe they're holding up
They're
her
behind the
enormous boobs. But no,
Yeah.
so the reason why, to your point about like why she's chubby with big breasts, is because those are over accentuated female features, that are good. It's good for childbearing, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like
No,
that's
that's
the
very
whole
true.
that's the whole idea behind why the Venus of Willendorf is the way she is. But that's what
And from
what
that
TJ is
period,
going to
I
show.
mean, the more
Hey.
just like the Eskimos and stuff, that people were kind of, they had to be more robust during those cold periods. I mean,
Well, that's why midgets are so robust.
I'm just glad to know that we weren't the ones that invented the fupa.
Oh, it's been
Beings have
around forever,
recognizing
dude.
that forever.
Yeah,
that's true. Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
the fat upper
there's
prehistoric
been-
area. That's what it stands for.
The mystery has been solved.
Dude, it's funny that you went there, because one of the original thoughts I had would be to show them something like the Rosetta Stone, and just
The
or
Rosetta
maybe
Stone
like
was in my head, but
yeah, or like
That's kind of
the
important,
original
too.
like. Well, I mean, like, it's not like they're gonna destroy it, and we already understand everything on it, right?
what if
But
we're
like,
covetous and we want it back, bro? I want it back.
Well, then we have to hire Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith and go get it back. But that's what I was
Or,
thinking, something like that, or like maybe
Nick Cage, we can do it.
Nick Cage would be good.
Yeah, we can do it.
Not the bees! The bees!
Or well, no, I'm not going to say Tom Hanks because I don't like the dude. I was going to say.
Oh
we
no,
could do
they
it
can
like-
have Tom Hanks.
We could do it like.
Maybe
Da
we could all
Vinci Code
collectively.
style.
Maybe we could
Or
all
like King
collectively
Tut's mask,
pretend.
dude.
We should
I mean,
all collectively
it's
pretend that Tom
cool.
Hanks is a cultural artifact, so they take him away. Like that's.
I'm not even
Tut's
sure
mask
Tom
would be
Hanks
a
is
pretty
actually
heavy one, dude.
human, first of all.
King Tut's mask would be pretty cool. Yeah, I think
It's,
that
it's like 3,000 years old, but it's super freaking ornate.
If
think it
I
was
had to
pretty
give
and
a,
shiny.
it's older than
if I had to give
3,000,
a
that's for sure.
serious answer, not trying to be funny, honestly, the first thing that popped into my head would have been like the David statue, or like
okay.
the
Michelangelo's
ceiling
David?
of the Sistine
piece of-
Chapel.
It's
Something
hard
like.
to lift that off, though. Like
Yeah.
like here's a ceiling.
Here's the
They
Are
can
they
get out of
now,
here.
in this scenario? Are they taking it and we
It's
don't
a
get it
peace
back?
offering. Yeah. It's
Okay,
a peace
yeah,
offering.
yeah.
They're going to take
So,
it
like,
and
the
put it on
statue could
display
work,
somewhere.
right?
Like this is how we made Earth our bitch, and then they point to it.
Right.
Well, maybe
Right.
I'm now that I
Just a
understand that it's a
naked
peace
dude with a
offering.
little
Now I'm revisiting my Taylor Swift.
Well, that's what I said. Is a peace offering. I'll read it again.
Yeah, no, that'll start.
Best
yeah,
cultural
they'll spend
artifact as
15
a
minutes
peace
with that
offering.
thing, and they'll nuke this whole freaking planet for sure.
Right. Right.
As soon as they start to lift off with her, they'll be like, "Mother."
She gets beamed back down first, though.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Either that, or
Write
they
a
just
song
whip her
about
out
that.
into the recesses of space.
If aliens have trebuchets, I hope they load her up in one and shoot her off into the universe, dude. Could you imagine
Wouldn't
just
that
like
be
a
entertaining?
trebuchet in fucking space, dude? Just counterweights.
Oh,
You'd go.
that'd be so
I
wild.
don't understand why people like Taylor Swift so much.
don't
She does not make good music, and I know
I
I'm gonna
made a
get
point
nothing
about
but
this,
hate in
actually,
the
and I
comments.
don't
Bring it on.
remember
You're
if
objectively
anybody's
wrong.
even
Taylor
watching
Swift does
this.
not make good music.
This is
Dude.
the hard part because I don't remember if I had this conversation with you guys or if this was something I was doing on a different pod. But I had this conversation in general because of people's misconception of metal music and people thinking that it's weird that I am a Christian metalcore musician and they listen to the vocal styles when I'm not doing clean vocals and stuff. And they're like, man, no, that sounds like the devil. And it's like, you think music that sounds like this, something that only appeals to a minute amount of people, a very small crowd, is considered to be pretty much underground, is what the devil will try to use to cast a message.
That's a
Or
good
would
point.
it be the pop star that everybody worships like they should be worshiping God,
Mm-hmm.
who makes songs that for some reason get stuck in everybody's head, even if they hate them, and it has a resonance across all people, and these people are objects of immorality. They symbolize promiscuity and instability. I think that would be a lot more of a tool of the devil if music was going to be used as a tool than something that
I
very
with the
few
devil.
people actually find to be what they like to hear. So,
No, that's a good point.
She acts like a
That's my-
succubus too, dude. Look how many
Oh,
dudes
dude.
she's chewed up
oh
and spit
no,
out.
freaking out, yeah. And they all seem, even knowing her history, they all still seem to get stuck to her like that. It's creepy. It really is. I mean, they know she's messed up. It's not like they went into it blind and she was like, oh, I'm just like you. We have all the same interests. And they don't know who the fuck she is. Lots
Right.
of dudes get manipulated that way.
Right.
Everybody knows who she is. She has a global persona. So,
Yeah.
gross. Gross,
I
man.
also think it's hilarious that she
no
preaches
butt.
green
No butt.
energy You know, like,
Yeah,
and then while she jumps on her jet, like,
Oh yeah.
she'll take her jet from like Washington D.C. to Philadelphia, and it's like
Yeah.
you can drive that in like 4 hours.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh yeah. And who's the other one? Of course, Kuckerberg. Didn't he just buy like the world's biggest yacht or something like that not that long ago?
I don't know.
So it's got like 4 massive diesel engines in it, and it's insane. It's like this big kind of like slate and black freaking crazy yacht, man. It looks like a cruise liner, and it's absurd. I'm gonna have to take a look here. I think it was him that just bought one, and he's
Look
another
at it.
one who was preaching all the green stuff at one point in time.
Yeah, no, he's
Zuckerberg.
conservative now. Didn't you hear?
Oh yeah, yeah. He went and met with Donald Trump, and you know,
Yeah, he does BJJ now, not just the blowjobs. This is what comes up.
The blowjob jobs.
Yeah, look at that fucking thing.
Blowjob.
It looks like a naval vessel.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one with him. I like giving the
This
thumbs
one?
up.
Dude, is that really the other half of that shit, dude?
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah. Dude, it is
Damn.
insane. The shot I saw.
dude, that's
of
a
it
lot
originally
of
is
that's a lot of
perfectly
money
from
to
the side.
spend. That's a lot of money to spend on a fancy ass looking boat and not fuck bitches on it. Like, just saying.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever noticed how it's like
It
you'll
is the
see
boat that hosted the largest sausage fest there has ever been.
Right? Yeah, dude.
There's flies in the pate. That must be Nigel with the brie.
Look at this. Man, what a waste, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, dude. The thing looks like a carnival
Hey,
cruise
your
ship or
phone,
some
your
crap.
phone that's been listening to you about cat food and condoms, all that advertising money, there it is, guys.
No.
he just
There it
stands.
is.
He
Yep.
just stands on the helipad on the back and yells about how straight he is.
Right.
I am so straight, guys. Check out
I'm
my
so
giant
straight.
boat.
This
I can
boat
bring so many
jiu-jitsu
bitches
instructor
on
on
this
here with
thing.
this
Oh,
boat is
man.
for everybody that got their identity stolen because their data got sold by Meta to somebody. That's what this is. This is actually
No
your boat,
freaking
guys.
kidding.
This is
Yeah,
your
exactly. I
One
was gonna
square
say,
inch for every.
Is it funny that it's like a blue and red, like sort of like
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I was saying. It almost
it's
looks like a freaking
it's like presidential almost.
yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
I'm not gonna
It's
lie to you,
absolutely
like-
insane. The first time I saw a picture of that thing, I was like, "There's no fucking way." Looks like a cruise ship.
You guys ever noticed how people who are, poor,
300 million.
they walk around and
dollars.
they're decked out in like as much as much money as they can spend at the mall. They're walking around in like designer jeans and like designer handbags and like all this stuff, trying to flash off what little money they were able to spend on something. And then you see people that are like objectively the wealthiest people in the world, like Zuckerberg, like Sam Bankman-Fried, like Jack Dorsey, and these guys are all walking around like they just rolled out of their
Right.
freshman dorm, like can't even be
Right.
bothered to like comb their
Flip-flops,
hair,
hoodie.
flip-flops,
Yeah,
Birkenstocks.
Yeah,
Oh,
Birkenstocks.
That always cracks me up.
Yeah. No, man, this
Gross.
boat right here, dude, was paid for by you and me, 110%.
Mhm.
If I
Oh, no
I had
doubt.
a boat like this though, like the first shit I took on it would go in my diary. Like you would have to. This is like a momentous occasion, you know? You do something like that. I
I've
couldn't
seen
even
a whole
imagine.
bunch of different figures bouncing around that it was a $300 million boat, $180
This
million
this says
boat,
300
$220
million.
million boat.
Yachtworld.com says 300 million. They probably know a lot about yachts. It's in the it's in the
I
URL.
assume.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even think you can have yachtworld.com as a magazine you subscribe to unless you have a boat that at least falls within a somewhat, subcategory of that thing.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's
Yeah, they
the
probably
biggest
know what's
dream
going
I have is to make it on yachtworld.com, bro.
oh yeah, man, I'll tell
And
you.
not as a
if
casualty.
I tried,
You know what I mean?
It's a casualty.
Yeah. It's not as a casualty.
I would make it
you know?
on yachtworld.com if I passed out in the lobby of a freaking hotel or something where
Right.
one was on the table. That's how I would make it on it.
No, but
Outside of
for
that,
real.
it ain't gonna happen, dude. Because I would never. There's
If-
no way. If I had Elon money, I would never buy that piece of crap. Never.
This is totally a piece of crap right here.
Yeah, well, it's completely counter to everything that I am. It's the opposite of everything I stand for, man. There's
I
no
would
purpose in it.
I would have to have like a Call of Duty style like battle on this boat at some point, you know? Like what's with like Miles gear and everything. Just
Oh,
get on
dude.
there or paintball, like just
Oh,
a
yeah.
classic, you know?
Oh,
Why
you
not?
can think
Like,
of
why
fantastic
buy-
things to do with it.
Yeah,
Like,
I already have.
just
you
for
know?
fun. Yeah, you're
Right.
sitting there daydreaming it out right now. Well, that was what I was
Just
joking
have
about
an
the other day when I
entire
was making.
staff, an
Hey, you
entire
know what?
staff of midgets, dude.
Maybe this is the cultural artifact right here, dude.
Found a way to employ them
Aye,
all.
aye, aye, first mate.
Right.
That boat is big enough that every single midget that is out there looking for work could work
He's-
on that
dude,
thing and
he's
you'd
like-
still be comfortable.
He's like on Joe Rogan next time, like talking about his yacht. He's like, dude, I got a full staff at half the salary, man. This is what it's like. Oh, no. Oh, dude, man overboard, we have to be quicker than your average person because they get lost a lot faster, guys, you know? So they're talking about this fucking midgets. Like, how many of you lost?
We
He's like,
only
I
have to
can't.
keep these tiny little lightweight lifeboats.
Right, right. Yeah, he's like, I've saved a lot of money on kids' life preservers.
Yeah, the 4 massive diesel engines that propel this ship don't have to work very hard because
Yeah,
it's
he's
a
like,
whole bunch of weight and lifeboats.
the fuel savings are great.
Your safety vests are just water wings.
Yeah.
You keep in.
They only need 1 water wing apiece.
just yeah, dude.
Oh,
He said,
no.
well, we purchase boat fuel in pounds. We don't need as much, dude. No, they don't weigh as much.
That's right. I'm gonna end up having to go on Grok and see if I can get it to make me a little animation of a whole bunch
Where are
of
you guys
midgets
just-
with water wings out in the ocean.
Where are your guys' safety
Just
vests?
wiggling
They're
it
over
up.
there in the closet underneath all the booster seats.
Right. That's what I'm saying, dude. These midgets, like, there's too many stairs on this yacht, dude. Just to like kind of like, you know, just trying to get up. Why is this? Why do we do this every time? Just like constantly, we're just like coming at the fucking midgets, dude, all the time. You know, like this is it. Like if like we have
The one that he favors will be in a chest carrier, like Mimi. He's the one
Dude,
that
just
commands the
that
rest
he's
of
like
them.
he's like front facing, so he can like always roll blunts. You know what I mean? Just like hands them over his fucking shoulder. I'm just lit as fuck, dude. But he like has to wear his water wings all the time in case they fall in the water, dude.
That's right. Yeah, if he fell in the water, on the front of Kuckerberg, he would be the motor at that point.
Right, right.
It's like, swim me back to the ship.
No, he just fucking lays on his stomach, dude. It's a flotation
Yeah.
device.
No.
You go into the bridge. There's a little step ladder to get up to the.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
No.
It's great, dude.
You got like a midget that's like hanging onto the boat radar on top, you know, just like spinning around. You know, just doing that. It gets crazy out in the Mediterranean, guys.
Oh no.
I think it's TJ's turn for a question, though.
Yeah.
The little segue right there, right?
I don't think there's any coming back from this, man.
That question devolved really fast. It did, truly.
We always end up back at midgets, man.
Yeah,
We even
dude.
talked about putting them on a platter and presenting them. The
Water
aliens. Like,
Explain-
you want to see something you
explain
guys have never
this.
seen before?
Right.
Check this out.
Yeah,
They're like,
dude. What if
They go
like we
back-
have
they go
those on our
back and
planet too,
yeah, they
Their
go
own
back and
midgets.
It's like,
they-
aren't those children? No.
bro? What if they take our midgets and then their midgets and put them together on like one planet? Like, what would happen?
Oh no.
You know,
Oh my god. And they make a
Who
reality
wins,
TV
dude?
show out of it.
Yeah.
who wins though, dude? You know what I mean?
That'll be my next question: is if they put their midgets and our midgets on another planet together and made a reality TV
Yeah.
show out of it, what would the title be?
Right, right. Well, see, you know,
It'd be like a galactic Australia, dude. Land down under.
Well, we're gonna have to like reclassify the way we call like certain stars, because like at that point you can have like yellow dwarfs, you know, because now we're talking about a whole different type of person, right? Yeah,
That's true.
You know,
The dwarf
Actually
star.
considered to be offensive in so
yeah,
many
it could be,
different ways.
right? I'm
They go
surprised no
back
one's
and-
come at that yet, you know.
They go
They
back
call
to
them
their
yellow
home world
dwarfs.
and
It's
they're
offensive to Asian midgets.
they go back to their home
Exactly,
world. They're
yeah,
trying to
that's what I was gonna
explain
say.
it to all their people. They were like,
Right.
Over on Earth 722, the human beings come in regular sized and pint sized. It's so
Fun
strange.
size, yeah,
white sized.
fun,
If you're not that
size,
hungry,
yeah.
you can get a half a portion.
Right?
We can fit 2 of them in one tractor beam. It's happy. It's twice as efficient.
Oh no.
Dude,
What happened?
We'll
right.
catch you guys on
Yeah.
Take Up Your Cross on Monday for confession. Oh my.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
dude, it's your turn.
Oh, that's
It is your
fantastic.
turn. Yeah.
Okay, well, this will be an interesting twist back off of the midgets. Actually, we might be able to work them in. What forms of political arguments do you feel are ineffective, counterproductive, or encourage people to resist
Oh, that's
your
easy.
thoughts or your objectives?
It's easy.
Go for it.
Yeah. Basically trying to make change happen from the top down, forcing people to do things. Good ideas don't require force. That's a great way to not get people to want to do what you say. Tell them that their entire lifestyle is absolutely wrong. Gaslight them about things that happen in front of their face and tell them that they can't trust their own eyes. These are things that we've seen in the last 4 years. I mean, it's like this question could be rephrased to, why did the left lose the election this year? Right? I mean, without a doubt, like these. If there was a playbook on like what not to do, they wrote it, and there's a reprint with new information. Like that's how fucking retarded it was. Yeah.
That's very true. They went full Retursta on that one. And the sad part is of course, they've continued this momentum from many, many administrations back. I mean, they've been working this agenda for decades, and it's quite obvious through things as far back in the 70s that are very notable, like affirmative action and the effects that it had on the collegiate system, and things working all the way up to today. But yeah, they somehow, either through just arrogance and hierarchy or just blatant stupidity and fumbling of the football from the Biden administration, they put it all in the public eye much more than usual.
Well,
and I won't say it's because of, there being greater media exposure or anything along those lines, because that's been around for quite a while. I mean, the reality is the vast majority of us have been surfing the internet at moderate speed since like 2004. So we've dealt with there was decent DSL back then. We've dealt with 2 decades worth of politics that have taken place with people going online for a lot. And so
I think appealing to the minority is another one, the fringes of any group, and the tyranny of the minority. But I think the other way that I think, or the other thing that I think is totally detrimental and to get people to not listen to you, is going after free enterprise, right? And then attacking people and their businesses. I think one of the biggest ways to fight tyranny is to allow people to start their own businesses, is to allow people to create and sell and barter and do all these things, because you can do it on your own. You don't need the government. And I think that the government has gotten really, really good at shutting down small business. And that's another way that you can exact a political agenda and piss people the fuck off. That's something that you see happening pretty regularly now. Entrepreneurship is without a doubt one of the best vestiges we have to fight off tyrannical government. And
COVID-19 was a huge hit against
COVID-19. Yeah, but more than that, right? Like look at NAFTA was another way that happened. But no, it's just that policy, I think, right there, and then like allowing people to, like allowing the free market to be what it is and allowing people to start small businesses, all these things is a natural byproduct of the independence and sovereignty of man. When Chris and I talk about, it's not freedom to just do what you want to do, but freedom to do what you ought to do. Like these are the things that hold society together, are people bartering, trading services, starting businesses, all these things. Like that is probably one of the biggest bastions against tyrannical government, is having a group of people who can take care of themselves and set up free enterprise and offer services and goods in exchange for something, whatever that looks like. I think that there has been an onslaught of that for decades in this country, and I think that is a political attack, that's not a right word. Like it's been a political aim to oust that entrepreneurship and free enterprise in this country for a long time, and I think that's finally catching up with this country in a very bad way.
Yeah, for me, I would say counterproductive arguments. The first would be arguments of hypocrisy. They don't do anything. It's a lazy argument. If you're on the left doesn't care about hypocrisy. In fact, it's part of this. It's not a symptom. It's part of it. It's baked in. And if you're on the right, they get paralyzed by it, right? Like they don't have an answer for it. And so it's like, dude, if you're doing things the right way and you're staying above board, then hypocrisy arguments, like they don't come at you, like they don't phase you, because you're like, I have always had my set of principles and I stick to them and they work out. But I find if you're down to arguing about hypocrisy, then you either don't know what you're talking about or you're just being lazy in your argument. It's kind of like pointing out that somebody's ugly. So, so what? Let's argue about the ideas and actually have it out. And then the other one for me is going to be arguments based on authority. It's a terribly short-sighted thing to do. And if you're arguing based on your authority, it's probably because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So then you're going to rely on your degrees or your accomplishments. But so what? Why do I care if you have a Harvard degree? You can still be very, very wrong, right? And COVID was a great example of that. And if you come down to arguing from a position of authority, and then turn out to be completely wrong, and this is why I say it's short-sighted, then it tears down the reputation of the institution that you're arguing for the authority that it's based on. And so it's a very short-sighted thing. Like you should come at an argument because you're correct and because your ideas are vetted, right? They're based in sound science, right? Or they've been proven to be true. Where you got your degree from doesn't matter, right? Like I'll take an HVAC guy that went to a trade school, has never set foot on a college campus, but damn, it's like he knows how. It's like the freaking collective knowledge of the human race is on this thing at the tip of my fingers,
literally.
And you can become an expert in anything that you're
don't.
willing to take the amount of time to just go out and read about. And yet people won't do that, and then they'll just be like, well, I have a degree from Yale University, so you should listen to
it's
me.
like what Batya was talking
what?
about us on that episode about credentialism, that's more important than anything.
Yeah.
What credential do you have? And we're going to go based off that, right? The knowledge economy, getting a degree, getting certified on something, paying more attention to and putting on a pedestal of these things that you've earned that aren't actually representative of a body of work per se, right? A college degree is representative of a body of work, but it's not representative of work you've done in that field. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I'm getting
Absolutely.
at. Like I would rather take somebody who's worked in something. It's just like, this is like the whole like lieutenant argument in the military, right? Like, yes, sir, you've got a fucking college degree, but this E4 who has been in the military for 6 years or 4 years or whatever, right? Definitely knows a lot fucking more than you do. He doesn't have a bachelor's degree, right? But there's some differences there in the military because of, commissioned officers and different, reasons why, but that's the whole point though, right? A lieutenant is just an airman or just a private with a fucking college degree. And shit, nowadays, most airmen and soldiers, a lot of them, I don't know about soldiers, but have college degrees that come in. I had a friend that enlisted as an E3 and had a master's degree.
I've seen it. Yeah, that's why the old joke is, what the difference between a private first class and a second lieutenant is? A private first class has been promoted twice.
It's true.
He's been here longer than you.
No, it's true though.
Yeah.
No, that's why every lieutenant is butt buddies with a senior NCO.
Better be.
Yeah, that's a fact.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's a great
From
question.
a non-military standpoint, I guess the other way that the biggest thing I look at is people who are trying to challenge people's intelligence. So I think that's a huge thing, and that's something that's done by our government. It has been done very quickly to help in sort of that decline as well. Is when it came down to something, we'll use COVID, of course, because it's so recent and it was so profound, not in the fact that it was what they made it out to be. It was such a huge lie that managed to make so many people behave in so many different ways. The people who were apprehensive from the beginning were people who were insulted by the fact that their intelligence was constantly being challenged. And that's something that is done very, very heavily, I think, by the left. They try to instill in everyone that they know better than everybody else about pretty much anything, and that you just need to trust them, listen to them, and do exactly as they say, because regardless of what your mind is telling you is correct, you're not right, they are. And it was more
than
let
that.
them be the smart people.
It was more than that, because it was. I distinctly remember the whole you're trying to kill grandma. It wasn't. It wasn't just intelligence.
Guilt and all kinds of things.
It wasn't
most
just
definitely.
Intelligence that was being challenged a lot. It was people's moral character too.
Absolutely.
A lot of people got fed up really quickly with that. You're not just saying that I'm a person with bad ideas. You're telling me that I'm a bad person with bad ideas, because that was where that argument devolved to very
They were
quickly.
constantly trying to say that we were.
And now you saw
lives
probably
and
today and yesterday that there's consideration about pardoning Anthony Fauci Could you
For
fucking
what? He hasn't
imagine?
been charged with anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I know. But could you
And not
fucking
just him, a
imagine,
whole
bro?
bunch of the other players in that. There was like a half a dozen different names on that list.
Dude, that if people thought that the Hunter Biden pardon was bad, and I do think it is bad, and I'm sick and tired of hearing that. Well, if you were a parent, you'd do the same thing argument, because that's definitely not true for a lot of people.
No.
But dude, if they
I do have a special video about that if we have time for it later, though. About the Hunter Biden pardon and kind of what led to it.
Objectively, it was the most sweeping presidential pardon of all time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then
he got like pardoned into the future.
Yeah, I was
He
just
sure
going to
did,
say,
yeah.
a lot of people didn't pick that up, that he was pardoned like several hours into the future.
Right.
So theoretically, he had a blank check
Oh yeah.
for
Bro, he
several
could've-
hours where he could have just
He could
like,
have
burned
smoked
it
crack
down.
on the White House
Yeah,
lawn,
if there
took a
was somebody
shit,
he
and
didn't
buried
really
it
like,
in
he
the
could have Clinton him.
and buried it in the Rose Garden.
Like on camera.
and fucking
he could have been like,
No kidding.
and then just pointed at his watch and just
Right.
been like,
Yeah. Oh,
Dude,
no.
it was basically
Theoretically.
like what fucking happened at the end of World War One. The Germans were like, well, there's 15 minutes before armistice, so we're just gonna fucking attack the French front line and kill a bunch more people until the fucking war is over. Like that's basically what he could have done. That's
the
basically
purge
it.
commences now.
Oof.
Dude. But yeah, no, if they pardon Tony Fauci, like I think there'll be some serious heat.
Well, this
that
is
comes
already
from that.
this is already setting up a future where every presidential administration exiting the White House is going to have to like
Yeah, they're gonna
Talk
do a
last few
clean
days.
house.
Here come the pardons as we're leaving because the other party is inevitably and when
It's a
this
standard
argument
we don't
comes
wanna
down and the partyism starts coming out about it, you know, like those of us that live through this that remember are going to go back and be like, excuse me, what party was it that indicted a former president 4 times, that tried to send him to jail for 700 years, that
That's
tried
just such
to
The
a
other problem
dangerous
is
seize
the
his
precedent, man.
they're
assets
making about
inside
it
of a
is-
state
Such
from
a
his
dangerous precedent,
civilian
dude.
business.
Yeah.
But
Well, they're already
it's
trying to
already
cover
been
their
blown.
asses on it. They're already putting the excuse out there that the reason why they have that half a dozen people on a list of potential pardons is because they know that those are personal targets of the tyrannical incoming president Donald Trump, and that he's going to take his own personal agenda
Worst
out on them.
tyrant
It has
ever
nothing to do with them
left
having done
office.
anything at all.
Well, did
It's
you guys
all
see the-
Trump.
did you guys
Of
see the
course, Trump is
statement that
trying to
the-
persecute them.
did you guys see the statement that the judge made who had been presiding over the Hunter Biden case? Right? Because the president made the statement, and I'm going to paraphrase him, but basically he said that his son was being unfairly targeted.
Oh,
and that,
yeah.
you know, they were coming after him because, you know, if his name wasn't Biden, then they wouldn't be coming after him. And the judge that was overseeing the case released a statement pushing back on the president, was basically like, okay, now you've wrapped me up in this and you're saying that and it's like, that nope, that is not the case.
Well, it just shows you how much they don't think about other fucking people because they're literally criminals.
Yeah.
Well, that actually brings me to a good question, because I was talking with my wife about this the other day.
No one is above the law, though, Brandon.
Do you guys
Not at all. Community notes.
certainly not
community notes.
midgets. They're not above anything. But
You're
anyway,
right. There's a whole
They're
other.
below
do you guys
the law.
do you guys
They can
do you
just
guys
they
think
can
better.
limbo that motherfucker.
do you guys think Joe Biden is intentionally dropping frags and just saying like not just, you know, F government or whatever, but he's also saying like, you know, fuck the Democratic Party, like fuck you guys, and he's just dropping frags on the way out because he's rolled over and caused a serious problem for his own party moving forward with a lot of
It's possible, or somebody close to him at least is, like Jill or someone, because Joe is,
Yeah.
I mean, that dude is 90% freaking gone. And it's obvious every time he speaks, he becomes more and more disjoined. So his dementia is starting to take toll really, really heavy. So it's not the deep state handlers that put him in as the puppet that he was. That hand's been removed from his ass. But somebody who's close to him, somebody who wanted him to be the president again, is still fingering that particular subject, I think.
Now we're back
So,
to manholes.
Yep, verbiage.
Manholes and midgets. That's the title of this episode.
I knew
There
it was
you go.
coming on. Oh, okay.
No, do I think
I will tell
I
you
do.
what, if it was titled that, people are going to check it out just to find out. It was kind of like what we were talking about, that
I'll
that
check
goofy
out that manhole.
book. Like, what was the book we were talking about? We were saying it sounded like a Marine Corps memoir or something. It was
Oh,
Decaf
fuck. I don't.
Coffee and Lady Boys or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you see a title like Manholes and Midgets, and you're gonna be like,
yeah.
"The man." People would pick it up just to find out why it's called that.
Dude,
See,
yeah.
there you go.
And
That's
Lady
exactly how
Boys.
we'll get twice the amount of views on this as anything else by titling it that.
It's true.
The story how the 7 dwarves took over the castle. Manholes and midgets. No, do I think that he's doing that? I think that in some respects he is. But I think too though that for a while now he's been anti whatever this future agenda the left has. That I think that they would have removed him from any, you would think, right, any sort of ability he has to be actually detrimental in like a long way, right? I mean, he's still the president for sure.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of power still, and he can do a lot of these things. But I would think he's probably not included in these closed door conversations on a lot of things. But
they got him on a tight leash.
Yeah. What he can do, he will do probably. I think too that he also. I think that Trump would have pardoned Hunter Biden if Joe didn't do it. I think
he floated
that
the idea. I think he would have.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would have just been
done.
like something that he can point at and be like, "Fuck you, I did that," right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, but the Democratic Party, I think, probably behind closed doors is not okay with that sort of pardon.
Right.
But I mean, what can they do? Nothing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Yeah, in one of his moments of clarity, he probably was like, "Hey, I'm gonna spill all the beans here if you guys don't let me."
What he should do is just like beat Trump to the punch and fucking like drop the JFK files and stun the fuck out of everybody, dude.
Oof.
Could you imagine?
Goodness, that would be neat.
Could you imagine?
I dig it.
Just like dunks on the Bush family because like that's there. Dunks on Israel because like that's there.
Biden.
Bro. From the fucking 3-point line, just fucking
Air
dude.
Biden.
Air Biden, right? Yeah.
Go ahead, get the visual going, man. It was going through my mind as I said it.
I'm gonna need that Grok image, bro. Just the fucking Biden dunking like the Jordan dunk, but it's Biden. Yeah.
What his hairy ass legs? You know?
And then there's like the from behind shot, and he's got like white basketball shorts on, like a shit
like
stain.
to touch the hairs on my legs and watch them pop back up.
They got hairy legs. Used to run hair, right? So that you just, I was out. What were you doing today? I was out kissing babies. Those are midgets.
Those were midgets, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Oh God, you guys are reminding me of this video that explains what happened.
I think it's me.
Is it
you?
Yeah. So we're all fathers here, right? I got 4 sons. Brandon, you got 2.5 kids. Yeah. And TJ, you got 3.
The trifecta.
So what's what do you guys think is the best thing about being a dad?
Well, I think TJ's got to answer first, so let me shut up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Honestly, I think it actually gives you definition. I feel as men, we know what we are expected to do. We know instinctively what we are, what our hormones and what our ingrained portions of our DNA, our animal instincts, so to speak, tell us we are supposed to do. But we randomly kind of bounce around in our lives trying to figure out who we are, trying to feel as if we are doing something of relevance. And a lot of times that's led to no satisfaction. When you become a parent, I think that all of a sudden all of that becomes perfectly clear. That's the best way I could possibly describe it. It is all of a sudden everything about what you are supposed to represent, everything about how you are supposed to, behave, the example you're supposed to set, and what your life is truly going to amount to comes clear when you realize that you're going to be a father.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I would say
honestly, more so in the moment where the child is present. I think right about the cut the umbilical cord and hand it into your arms is what cracked me from the very beginning, and probably it had the exact same effect every single time. It's just like a reminder. It just drives that nail even deeper to make you really realize how profound things really can be and how tangible everything is. How easily simple mistakes and bad examples could lead to the detriment of another human life. It really gives a massive representation of what you are supposed to be. It reminds you of exactly why a man is supposed to be a man.
I completely agree. I would say too, because TJ, you have both sons and daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me too. And I would say that this sort of like definition, like you were talking about at the beginning of your answer, were 2 different realizations for me right? As a girl dad and then as a boy dad. It invokes different feelings to think about and parent your daughter versus parenting your son. And a very different person appears, and it's a wholly different experience. And I think that it's completely different. And like what you were saying about like realizing that this is like your purpose, like what it is to like be a man. I think that's probably the biggest thing I look forward to, especially with my son, is showing him like what I think that means, and watching him, because I mean he's 3, right? So he already emulates a lot of my behavior anyway.
Oh yeah.
But trying to help him figure out what that all means, and then understanding too, like the world is going to look at him differently than the world is going to look at my daughter, and understanding and realizing too that I'm the only one in my household who can really understand that. As from the parent perspective, like, my dad or like my father-in-law can understand like to a degree because we're, different people, but like, and then like being a girl dad means like having a different example, right? Because you want to be the example for your kids, but it's a totally different thought process to think about being the example for your daughter versus being an example for your son. And I will say this too, it's also realizing that like your son has to see a side of you that your daughter may not. And I say that, to say that like I have to be and I have to mimic the harshness of the world and the harshness that the world will show my son when he's an adult, when he's a man. And I have to mimic that. And that, sometimes it's difficult because you don't want to.
It's dual faceted.
Yeah,
you don't want your son to be a greater man than you are.
Yeah.
But as a father to a daughter, you feel as if it's your obligation to be her protector. You essentially all of a sudden become her guardian angel.
And I think you have to view it as like you're doing him a favor in the hopes that he'll see and recognize that one day, that the visiting the harshness upon him is an act of love, and it is solely done realizing that I would rather him be prepared for it and meet that sort of difficulty or harshness from me and learn how to affront that harshness than experience it for the first time in the workplace or when he's in high school or whatever. And I think that a lot of kids today are experiencing that. And I would say that just from my experience with the 18 to 22-year-old crowd from when I was in the military, there's not enough of that in child rearing today. And I think that there's so much value that's lost and not having your child endure hard things. Because life is like this whole thing we live in is not real life. This house, the infrastructure we have, the civil infrastructure, all the creature comforts we have are not real life. It's
all enabling.
It is all enabling, right? And so like that sort of behavior is an act of love. And it's total preparation that's necessary,
Most definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with that entirely.
Agree with everything you guys said. I think for me, it's this is going to be a selfish thing, but I'm going to try and come up with something that you guys didn't say so we can just have one more perspective. But I really enjoy the opportunity of like getting to see the world and relive like the experiences of being a kid through my children, right? And so it's like
play
little
toys again,
it's
dude.
little things like the Christmas mornings and seeing them open that one thing that that they really wanted, and you just nail it, right? I love giving my kids stuff. I'm like
your
one
kid
of the
naturally likes fart humor, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
I didn't even teach you that.
Yeah, that is actually.
And you guys know exactly
DNA.
what I'm talking about when that cosmic intergenerational mirror is held up to you, and then you see yourself in them like instantly, and you're like, oh no. It can either be you can be elated and you'd be like, yeah, that's my boy, or you can see it and,
like,
and,
oh, crap.
and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I gotta fix that. I gotta fix
I've had
that.
both those moments.
Yeah.
Sure.
It could be that, or I remember watching Jurassic Park with my oldest son for the first time, because I saw it for the first time when I was 4, and it's a great memory that I have with my dad. Pizza and movie night. We have pizza and movie night in my family too, because I carried that tradition forward. And so I showed it to him when he was like 4 or 5, and I thought I was going to get him, right? Because it scared the shit out of me when I was 4. And he had the complete opposite reaction to it. And you guys know that scene, right, where the T-Rex eats the dude off the toilet?
Oh yeah.
And my kid just busted out laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. And he's 4, and he looks at me and he goes, "He ate it while he was pooping." Yeah, he just thought it was so funny. And I was like,
That's fantastic.
I was
Shitty.
like, okay. It's like I wasn't expecting that reaction. But
That's
it's just,
awesome.
it's so much fun reliving life with them. And I have to say, not in a regressional sense, not in the sense that like I'm on the floor and it's like
You're not out buying adult Happy Meals.
right, playing with the Legos and trying to be 4 again, but
I think it's a totally different thing, and as an
from
adult,
being a father
Adult
and
Happy
watching
Meals.
them enjoy something or experience something. I watched my second son, hit a baseball for the first time, and he cranked it out into the outfield, right? And it's just like you're so proud of them, and they're like they give you that look, the look where it's just like they accomplished something and they're
dude, I have
more
a story
excited
for this.
about it than anything, and then they give you the look, and suddenly you're just like you're proud and they're proud, and it's just like I say to my wife all the time, dude, I wish I could be half as excited about anything as my boys seem to be about literally everything.
Whatever.
Right.
And it's like sometimes it's me feeding off of their joy, and they don't realize that.
A couple nights ago, I took my son to the park in our neighborhood, and there's another little boy who was running around, a little older than him, and he was playing with a soccer ball. And I talked my son into like playing with him and like trying to like get in playing with him with the ball, and the other little boy didn't like kind of quite recognize like what he was trying to do, and then his mom was like, "Oh, he wants to play with you or whatever." And in the process of playing, my son like tripped and fell and like landed pretty rough. And I try not to like overly react when they fall, because they totally will play off like what you do. So I didn't really react. I was like, "Oh, you're okay," like, "Yeah, go get the ball," or whatever I said. And he got pissed that he fell and hurt himself, and he wanted to quit. And I kept like, I validated the fact. I was like, "That hurt?" Like, "Yeah," like, "I know that sucks. Like, it's not gonna be the last time you fell over." I was like, but go play. I was like, "You can get the ball. Go get the ball." And he was getting, he got frustrated because he was chasing the ball and he fell and like scraped his legs and like ran his hands across the ground or whatever. And I didn't let him quit. I told him like, "Yep, that sucks. You hurt. It's okay. Get up. You're gonna be fine. Let's do this." And he was kind of pouting, like it was getting better over like the course of like the minute or so. And he was kind of pouting about like going to get the ball, and then he tried to get the ball and he eventually got it. And this was all like maybe like a minute and a half. And when he got it and he just kicked it, you know what I mean? That's all he wanted to do. He literally jumped and landed and he goes, "I did it," like that. And I was like, "See?" I was like, you didn't stop. Yeah. And he's like, I was like, "You wanted to go over there. You wanted to leave." I was like, "But you did it." And I gave him a high five or whatever. But like, that's the first time. Cause like I said, my son's like 3. Like I said, the first time I've seen him like really like realize that like he didn't quit and he got excited about it and he did it. Right. Which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Why do we fall,
I'm
Mr.
the
White?
king of get up and wipe it off. Get up, you're fine.
Oh yeah.
It's an instant thing. Like I'll see a heavy fall take place, and I'm like, "Get up, you're fine."
Well, there's some falls where you're like, "Oh fuck, that definitely hurt." You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where you
And
gotta
I still have
kind
the
of
same
like,
response.
"I gotta go make sure you're
Oh,
okay,"
yeah.
kind of thing.
I've got it in the back of my
Yeah.
head, and I'm always an extremely.
Well, what I mean is
I
like
guess
sometimes
could
you
say I'm an
watch it.
extremely caring person, but I de-escalate everything always. I make everything seem like it's absolutely nothing for that exact reason, so that there's not that instant instilling fear, because they play completely off of that. If you baby a child, they will expect it every single time they get the tiniest little anything. They're like, "Oh, look what happened to me."
Yeah. No, like 95% of falls, I already know they're not serious, and like he's gonna be looking for some sort of validation. But just like sometimes you could tell like that fall was rough.
As funny as it is, my
At the same
daughter's the
time, I'm
one
like,
who
"Oh
adhered to
fuck,
it the
can't
fastest.
react," but like I know that shit had to fucking hurt.
Well, and
My daughter was the first one to kind of adhere to trying to be tough. That's the funny part. Is she was the first one to try to show me like road rash and stuff, and be like, "Look, I scraped my whole elbow off," and on the playground today. And
Right.
I'm like, "Hey, cool. Yep, looks a little bloody."
Yep.
I'll leave it out in the open air, let it dry out. You stick it under a Band-Aid. It's going to be all soggy and gross.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
These are conversations I have
any parent
regularly.
knows too. There's like the cry, and then there's
Oh, yeah.
the cry, and then like all of a sudden you're like, you know,
Yeah.
radar goes up.
Yeah,
you're
like I need to
yeah.
actually make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
For y'all with the youngins still, that doesn't wear off by any means, man. Like
No,
I can
no.
be in a place where I know that there are no children of the sound I'm hearing that belong to me,
Yeah.
and it still freaking rips you. Like going out to like big play places and stuff like that, where there's kids swinging off of like all the indoor playgrounds, and you hear that cry coming from a 4-year-old when you know your youngest child is 8. It still rips you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You still have that instantaneous instinct, like, like, oh, that's a real hurt kid, and you know, it's like
No
in my
doubt.
head, I know it's not my kid, but it has that same effect. It still calls you to action
It's
instantaneously.
a kid, yeah.
Yep, just a kid, man.
Yeah.
Most precious thing in the world.
Indeed.
And turds, they're absolute turds.
Oh, they're
Can't,
totally turds, dude.
Just wait, y'all. How old's your oldest, Brandon?
9.
9. You, Chris?
11. Actually,
Okay, yeah.
getting ready to be 12 here in
Yeah, so you're in that pocket
month.
then, man. Yeah. You're moving into turdsville. For sure. Yep. They
Did you
turd
say
up
Turdsville?
more as it goes. Everybody says
we
that
have
like
some-
babies are the hardest.
We've had some
Exact opposite, in my
conversations.
opinion.
We've had
Yeah.
some. We're starting to have some conversations where it's just like
the girl
the
being
mental
in that age group is where it
manipulations are
gets-
starting to come out. We're starting to play mental chess, and then a few months ago, my oldest was wrestling with the second oldest and started to put the pound on him, and I was like, you wouldn't, you want to try that with me? And he bowed up and he's like, let's go, Dad. And I was like, I've been waiting for this moment. I put him on it. I put him on his ass and I embarrassed him. And then he did the, and I was like,
Yeah.
you said you wanted to wrestle. I was like, now do you really want to wrestle anymore? No, I don't want to wrestle you, Dad. And I said, because that's how your brother feels when you wrestle him. See, like there's a whole lesson.
Oh yeah, there's
about
been
that,
lessons
yeah.
taught like that many times, and the other factor that Brandon and I have that you don't is the girl in the midst of it all, because my daughter is about to turn 11,
Not envious of you
and
guys.
dude, ooh, her mouth and the things that she does in comparison to her older brother, it is night and day.
A lot of
different.
attitude.
Yeah.
The defiance, the attitude, the hormones. Oh, dude.
Well, and I
I've
feel
had
there,
so many of my customers tell me their daughters were the hardest
yeah.
for so long.
Well, because
that
as
I've been...
as a father, right? Like there comes a certain point. My sons, no matter how old they get, I don't care if they're 25, right? If I find out that my son laid hands on a lady, I don't care if he's 25. I'm gonna whoop your ass. I taught
Oh,
you.
no doubt.
I taught you better than that. And I'm not gonna abide by that type of behavior out of one of my kids, right? I don't
Exactly.
care how old you get. Like if I have to whip you with my cane, I'm gonna whip you with my cane if I have to, right? There comes a certain point with a little girl, and it happens very quickly, right? As a father, where it's like we don't do. I'm not gonna lay hands on my daughter anymore, and it comes
Yep.
much earlier.
Oh yeah.
Right, than it
Big
does with young
My
men.
brother and I
and so
used
it's
to
like
bitch about like my dad and mom, like, cause we, 2 brothers, and then the youngest is my sister. We used to get pissed, like, man, you do not punish her like you punish us, blah blah blah, like
Sure.
bitching about it, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many reasons behind it. As a man, you know that that's the wrong thing to do. If you
Right.
have any sense of morality whatsoever, and you're an actual composed and not completely unstable and nasty individual, then you know that it's morally wrong to begin with. But also, you have a lot more apprehension in it just based on social views. It becomes a much more difficult thing in that sense, because you're worried about things like, can I spank her? Can I do that anymore? It's those kinds of things come to mind very, very early on.
Sure.
With having a daughter, for sure.
Well, I mean,
You always got it in the
I
back
can
of your mind.
completely sympathize with girl dads too, because it's like, I also, I would never want a daughter of mine going into the age where she's going to start dating thinking that it's okay for a man to lay hands on her. And then, like,
No.
if that's what I'm showing her as a father, it's like, so we need to come up with a different method of being able to discipline and, positively reinforce good behavior and negatively reinforce bad behavior that doesn't
Oh, it's so
involve
tough.
that anymore.
It's
right,
so
because
tough, dude.
and that's why I said I don't envy you guys, because if I have to
It's
whoop
just
ass around here, I just
absolutely
whoop
terrible.
ass, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and as a man,
that's how I've been my whole
I
entire
think
life.
this is
So
one of the
now
things.
I've gotta have a different
I
set
think
of
this is one of the
brakes.
things that we've completely lost in our society, and there's several reasons for it. I think anonymity of the online space has led to it. I think that the just overall pacification of men in our society has led to it.
Yeah.
Like whatever you want to draw it back to, but things used to be better when men walked around and had natural respect for other men, because you run your mouth out, right? You run your mouth out, you're going to get hit. Talk shit, get hit. That used to be a thing. And so it's like people treated each other with more respect, because it's like, I don't want to throw hands if I don't have to. Nowadays, like, people just say the most wazoo crazy shit because they've never had their ass kicked before. And that's just
exactly
really what
right.
it comes down to. You've never had your ass kicked.
Yeah,
because you would never say that otherwise.
Yep, the old statement that dude needs to have his ass kicked good one time is a very profound statement. It really is true. I used to consider it to be a gentleman's attitude adjustment when I'd have to take somebody out and whoop their ass. I would help them up. Half the time, I'd even end up giving somebody a ride home after I whooped their ass on a sidewalk or in a parking lot. Because it's the right thing to do. I would straighten out their behavior from whatever they'd done wrong, whether they were messing with somebody for no reason or doing something that was inappropriate to a woman or whatever. And then, they come to their senses a little bit. You get them to get out of their, fuck you phase, basically, and kind of, shake it off and start realizing they've done something wrong. And usually, even under the influence, they will usually still come around and kind of be like, yeah, man, no, I know, bro. I just had a real bad day.
Getting your bell rung.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, my dad used to call it an attitude adjustment. He used to call it that when I was a kid.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So, and no, 100%, because it's like, as a young man, right, and like we've all been one, 90% of what you do is testing fences to see what you can get away with. I mean, it's the natural inclination of being a young man. It's like, how much can I get away with, right? And then a lot of these young men have never gotten their attitudes adjusted from crossing fences with people before. No consequences. And so it's like you show them a boundary one time, and all of a sudden they have to start reevaluating a lot of stuff they thought they knew.
Physical boundaries are very, very effective, man. That's why
playing
basic
outside
training
is
used
so
to be a
important.
huge
the spanking
deal.
was a very good tool that our society has tried to completely destroy, and that's one of the hardest parts about being a parent in this era is depending on where you live, you may end up in jail if you spank your kid.
Yeah, those parents that mom got in trouble for sending her kid to the gas station, like 10 blocks or something like that. I don't remember how far away it was, but she got fucking
and then you see these weirdo videos they show from like Japan where they send 3-year-olds out to the market to get their fish for them and bring it all the way back to the house and shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have seen
totally
that or
different
not.
society. I have.
There was a weird
Japan
series. It's called like Old Enough or
Japan
something
is way
like that where
different.
they're showing. Oh yeah, huge. Yeah,
Dude, I think
they
it's a
still
good
instill
thing.
responsibility
You
at a
couldn't do it
young
here,
age. I do too.
You couldn't do it here in certain parts of the
God,
country.
no.
Yeah, like maybe in a real fucking
part
small
of the problem
town.
is, of course, part of the problem is, of course, the things that are going on here.
That's like a total culture
lack
thing.
of
You just
security
can't
at our
teach.
southern border and the human trafficking situation. I mean, if you have an unattended child somewhere, dude, just the thought, man, I went on this tangent earlier today, not over that, but over the transgender thing. I didn't realize I accidentally had a story pulled up for Take Up Your Cross that I realized hadn't really been 100% validated yet, so I ditched it at the last minute and flipped the one that I had underneath it up and didn't realize I backed one where they were trying to reinforce having transgender laws in Tennessee. To make it to where they could mutilate kids, because right now it's illegal there. I'm sure you guys caught that one kicking around a little bit. And then the one following it was that in Minnesota, they have been making these dolls since 2020 roughly, where you can switch out their genitalia and their internal organs so that kids can have the idea that they can symbolize their doll as whatever they feel they are, regardless of what their body tells them, because their body is contradictory to who they actually are. And these were designed by doctors who use these, from their own statement, on their 5 to 11-year-old pediatric patients.
Listen, I used to play
And
with
I
Barbies
lost
when
it,
I
dude.
was an 8-year-old
I
too, but it's
cracked.
because I really wanted to know what she had going on under there. I was just
Right, and you were completely deceived at that point in time.
Looks
because
totally different.
The very first time you actually saw a real woman, you didn't understand what nipples were. You're like,
she
what?
ain't got no nipple.
That's terrible, dude. But no, I mean, I've joked around before that there's only ever been one time that I ever dropped the F-bomb on Take Up Your Cross, and today I think I said it like 7 times, because when I went down that hole,
No, that
It
shit's
spiraled me
infuriating.
out,
That-
man.
that
I
manhole?
lost it as a dad. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it got nasty. As a father, I
Yep.
just, when I started talking about the doll and started speaking about these physicians that were trying to validate why these tools are important and why all states and all pediatric hospitals should be using them. Oh, man. The things I said, they will
Listen.
probably come back to haunt me one day.
Over here on this podcast, pedos go in the wood chipper.
That's exactly what
Feet
I said
first.
multiple
Feet
times
first,
today.
homie.
But yep, things got bad. They
Yeah.
got real bad.
All right.
All right, I got a question for you guys.
Yep.
Another question.
Word.
What if Germany had won World War One and the Treaty of Versailles had never existed? How would the political landscape of Europe and the world have evolved without the seeds of resentment that led to World War Two?
So I'm going to say right off the top, the low-hanging fruit, Europe would be much more homogenized. I don't think that we would be looking at situations like what's going on with Russia, Ukraine wouldn't be going on, because with a much more homogenized Europe underneath what I assume would be like one banner under would basically be like a modern version of the Kaiser after World War One. Borders would be completely different from what we recognize of them. And I think the world would be much more unipolar, right? So you would be basically looking at, I don't think the United States would be nearly as strong of a world power as it is. I think basically the Western world would have become much more isolationist by necessity. And I think whatever we're going to call that unipolar Europe that would have developed out of that would probably be the singular world power that would be ruling things to this day. You wouldn't have an Israel. Things in the Middle East would look completely different because no World War One or the outcome of World War One, then you have no World War Two. And so then you just everything that we recognize
World War II, we know it. Yeah.
from the 20s till now, you have to completely derail all of that. So you're talking about industrialization of the Western world, right? Would have gone completely different. You're talking about, again, there wouldn't be necessarily an Israel, which means the Middle East map would be completely redrawn as well. You would possibly be looking at, and theoretically, you could be looking at a world that had a single Muslim caliphate, a Western civilizational Europe that was homogenized, your United States, Canada, basically over here in the West, and then the very interesting one that I don't know is what would the Far East look like under China, because the Maoist revolution and all that happens in the 1930s. And if World War II is not taking place, and also there's a possibility that no Great Depression ever happens in the United States because the markets don't crash in Europe. So does China devolve into communism under Mao, when much closer to them is a stronger Europe that's leading the world? I don't know. But right there is just a few huge dominoes that happen right after World War One that you say, and what if games are largely like, you can't say, but those are a few big dominoes that I would point out and just be like, none of that would have worked out the way that it had.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wrote down some ideas of like what I would think happened. I totally agree with you on the homogenization of Europe. I wrote that down, that a lot of the like what are like now like the Eastern Bloc countries would probably have a very hefty German influence. Obviously, I think that the British Empire at the time would have to yield a lot of its colonies, especially in Africa, and then India, probably over to the Germans in some way, shape, or form eventually. I wrote down too here that the Russian Civil War would still occur, but it wouldn't have any sort of Western intervention. To your point about like isolationism a little bit, Soviet Union would be weaker, and that the American economy, this is where I said like the industrial revolution here, like you said, would look different, or not the industrial, because the industrial revolution already happened, but you know what I mean. Without the cost of war, right, and then the subsequent like 20s boom and all of that, would be a totally different and probably a better technological advancement and innovation, is what I said, and it would probably lead to some sort of Cold War between the United States and Germany for a long time. I say too that there's a potential for a Russia, France, and Great Britain like revolt for any sort of like revenge, I guess, on Germany. They would probably lead to some sort of conflict again in the future, especially if the Irish War for Independence happens and Britain loses that war.
Well, that's the Thucydides trap, right? So whenever you have two rising powers, and now you're looking at just where those powers would have been located, right? But yeah, inevitably conflict would still happen. It's just who are the power players in that conflict at that point.
What do you mean? With what?
You were talking about you said the Russian Civil War, and then as we're coming forward, right, the conflict like between Europe, because essentially the United States economy, right, is what allowed us to become the world power coming out of World War II. And then
what
also,
I was saying wasn't a Thucydides trap, because it wouldn't be two rising powers like trying to avoid war, but on the path to war. I think that it would be more of a Cold War, not a kinetic one. And I don't think the sort of like global reach that we do have now, and the way that like the United States like kind of dominates the world stage, obviously that didn't exist. I think it would be more of a innovation style, technologically driven Cold War, and probably a potential prolonging of like certain colonial involvement. I think the United States would get involved in more colonial stuff that like happened in Central South America that the British were holding on to. But I think that France, England, and Russia would probably have some sort of like revenge war against them, or try to. And they would be, I think that the Germans would constantly be battling that. And however that looked like. Hold on, let me scroll down. I like scrolled up to like read you what I said. Like the Japanese you were talking about before, like the Japanese and the Russians. I think that the Japanese would not have to worry as much about the Russians as they did. And there would be a total Japanese dominance in the Pacific. That's pretty much all I wrote. You wouldn't have to, and like you said too, the Sykes-Picot Agreement wouldn't exist, which is basically what divided up the Middle East.
And one other good point that you brought up that I had forgotten about. Yeah, Germany was by far more technologically advanced than the United States heading into World War II. So yeah, had they unified Europe right underneath one banner, Germany would be light years ahead technologically.
Yeah, just think of all the stuff that they developed.
Than any of the rest of the world.
Just think of all the stuff that they developed leading into World War II, right?
Rockets,
I think that like the subsequent like development of the Weimar Republic, which eventually fell into ruin and sort of like led to all the German nationalism that Hitler played on, because Germany was broke from paying back all the war debt and all the inflation that they had. There would still be total German nationalism. There could be the potential of that nationalism like dying out with a generation, because it does have like a steady decline over time, and I think you can see that pretty exhibited with the United States, that nationalism that exists. But all those scientists and things like that, I don't think it would have stopped. I think that all of these things that like we saw like leading up to World War II, I still think the Nazis would invent the jet engine. I still think that a lot of the munitions that they made would still be there. I think a lot of it. I just think that because there potentially wouldn't be a World War II in the way that we know it today, that the United States in their competition with Germany may not have some of that technology, because a lot of it we fucking stole.
Those are all really good points.
Yeah,
most definitely.
My biggest like unknown is like what would economic ties look like around the world as all of that developed forward.
I think the United States might have focused a lot more on its own hemisphere and dominated more of the Central and South America, the way that sort of like the Monroe Doctrine says, right?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think we would have been a much more of an isolationist kind of a nation, rather than being trying to be kind of the big brother, the world enforcer that we've become for sure. And part of, I think, what would have started it all off is Germany itself was torn in the First World War, which a lot of people don't realize. They were kind of falling between two different ideologies. There was the Germany that had kind of been built by Bismarck, and then there was the kind of the growing labor movement that was going on in Germany. Germany actually had the largest labor movement of any country in Europe at that same time. So there were two different ideologies at work at that point in time. There was that real kind of hard-hitting military, kind of conservative power that was created by Bismarck versus the labor movement that was going on, which was a much more liberal movement. So they may have had some form of a civil war going on in the midst of all of that, just with the tears of power, if they weren't having to continue that focus. And of course, when World War I came to an end, was like towards the end of the year. It was like in November. I don't remember the exact date. In 1918, but oh, there we go, perfect. But in 1918, but I don't know why that just slipped my mind. But the battles that kind of, if they would have won, that would have possibly shifted gears, would have happened much earlier in the year, like in February or March, back in France. And if that was the case, I think that it would have changed kind of the face of the way that everything developed in France as well, which would make a big difference. I think France would have fallen very deep into more of a fascist kind of a mentality in comparison to what it did. And of course, I think it would have delayed because the United States, everything would have ended before the United States actually entered into the war to try to shift the tide. So I think it would have divided the way that we behaved towards all of those other nations as well.
I think, though, to your point, Chris, about like talking about like the Thucydides trap or like the potential for war between the United States and Germany, I would say that I think that relationship, the German potential like alternate history German American one, would have had more opportunities for kinetic conflict than the Russian and American one, right? The Russian and American Cold War. And I think that has a lot to do with when that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole Cold War started after World War II, and the United States is now the victor of two different world wars, and having gone through like the Great Depression and the rebuilding of the United States, the New Deal, all that stuff, the United States has much more of a sense of itself. I think that maybe later, maybe like the 50s or 60s, that you could see a like devolvement of that Cold War into something hot, because I think that the German, whatever you want to call it, the German Reich, the Kaiser Reich that would have come out of that World War I in Europe, I think also has the opportunity to devolve a lot faster than the Soviet Union did by just simple virtue, first off, of I think that the Germans would overtake a lot of the colonial interests that like the British had, and they simply just don't have the numbers that the Soviet Union and the Russians had to maintain any of that shit. I think that you would probably see a lot of smaller little wars for like colonial interest, potentially, right? Potentially. But I do think that would have the ability to devolve into kinetic warfare quicker than the Russian-American Cold War. Personally, I mean,
it's a really good point. And now I'm wondering if coming out from underneath of World War I, a unified Germany whose borders are
a bunch of shit
much larger than it is now, do you have the ingredients in place for the rise of communism?
I should say a lot
at
of
that
the
point.
death. I think there would have been a lower death toll in Europe overall under those circumstances.
I mean, it definitely would have created a much more stable 1920s and 30s in Europe and 1940s. And so now, that's why I'm kind of wondering, like, now do you have the necessary cauldron, right, for the birth of communism coming out of Europe?
Right.
I think it still happens. I think it still happens in Russia. Like for sure, like the whole Bolshevik Revolution. I still think that still happens. But I don't think that like the influence you see in like Western Europe would be there. Not like that. I don't think it would be. I think that you would see like a continuation of a lot of these like rebel guerrilla style fighting that Germans would have to do for a long time. And it runs so much deeper than just like the 20th century, because when you talk about like the people there, like they've been warring with each other for a very long time. And I think the Germans would have a really hard time if they tried to occupy Great Britain. I think it would have a really fucking hard time. I think they would have
Yeah.
a really
Ask
good
any
time.
ask any conqueror over the history of the world.
Yeah.
Conquering is easy.
Yeah.
Occupying is hard.
Mhm.
Once you
Yeah,
have
the
it.
naval
United
battle
States
would have been
learned
the
that lesson
difficulty for
20
them
years in
coming into
Afghanistan.
England. I mean, they would have had a really, really hard time trying to take on Great Britain's navy. Just Germany just wouldn't have the presence for
I
it.
mean,
of
they
course,
would
being a
Germany would
landlocked.
be like the British Navy like fucked up the German Navy pretty good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think that there would be a lot of rebuilding that would have to do, but I think that there would be a lot of control over those natural resources that the Germans just naturally have.
That's true.
But they would
There's
have a
ton out
lot.
there, yeah.
They
Yeah,
would.
France had a ton that they would have won over as well.
Mhm.
There was a lot of natural resources available in France they would have gotten their hands on.
You also the one thing too that we didn't mention is the survival of the Ottoman Empire. We kind of mentioned it because with the Sykes-Picot Agreement, it dissolved like the Ottoman Empire, but like we didn't talk about like its continuation as far as that goes. Like you would see like I think there would be a much stronger central like Western Central Asia, Turkey, all of that. I think you would see a lot stronger. Anyway,
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good thought experiment.
Definitely, dude.
whose turn is it?
And it's funny because it somewhat ties into my last question of them all. I don't know if it's my turn yet, but it is
your turn.
fairly relative. It is my turn. Well, ain't that special?
Shoot, buddy, you're loaded.
Space.
Not quite in a war base, but just in a personal, we will call it a sociological base. Do you think that your beliefs, your moral composition would be different if you were born in a different family, if you were born under a different faith, if you were a different race, or if you were born potentially like in a different period of time than we are now?
Oh, bro, you don't want to see a black me, dude. I'd be the new Michael Jordan, dog. I'm telling you right now.
Hey-o.
You know, sketchy.
No, bro.
No.
The NBA would
He
be
pulled out
totally
the
different.
Trudeau.
Yeah, it would be so different. Just saying.
No, I think the lazy
Eric
answer
Gresham's.
is absolutely.
Yes,
I
of
mean,
course
you
it
can't
would.
you can't say
Well,
right like.
but
now,
also, of
this is
course,
classic
the
nature
goal is
nurture
to
argument.
explain where you think you
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
end up under the
Yeah.
circumstances.
So
Be right back.
under nature and nurture, I tend to believe that nurture is a much stronger force on a person's life, because I've seen so many people that are born to terrible situations. A great example, Dr. Benjamin Carson. Like he's very vocal about the situation that he was born in, into a fatherless home. Total lack of what people would consider to be privilege in his life. And yet the man found God, has a profound faith in Jesus Christ, has gone on to become one of the greatest medical minds that we have in the United States, has overcome so much. And all of that, he counts to finding a father figure in his life that was willing to pour that time into him. And now you're just talking about the nurture argument, right? You go back to biblical examples, Abraham, right? And like God presents himself to him and just says, hey, go to a land that I will show you. Right. And then, Abraham goes on to be the father of the faith. Or take
Right.
any one of the 12 disciples that had a complete life. I mean, Peter was most likely in his 30s when Jesus reached out to him and his brother Andrew, and was like, drop your nets and come and follow me. And they did. And then Peter goes on to be the rock on which Jesus built his church. And that all goes back to the time that he spent, with Jesus Christ under his tutelage, which is a total nurture argument. Right. And so any one of us, just on the surface to your question, were we born to a different family under a different time and a different set of circumstances? Yeah, you would be a totally different person. We're all a
This is a question
we're
I
all a
actually was
product.
asked one point in
Yeah,
time by
we are
somebody
all
in
a product
in
of
a drinking situation. As
Yeah,
funny as
we
that
are
is.
all a product of our environment.
Very true. And I guess what I'm looking for is what just kind of like the conversation we just had pertaining to where we feel like things would be different in the world and things would be different in Germany under the circumstances if they had won. Same thing. What do you particularly think would be different about you if you were to pick just one? Like if you were born in a different time period, or if you were born as a different race, is always a very entertaining one to try
As
to
a
answer.
different race.
If you truly think that your values or anything that you hold dear right now as a person would have maintained, a similarity to who you actually are.
Daggone, man. Well, I think I'm just gonna pick one to focus on, but I think my moral compass as a person would be completely and totally different, because my moral compass was very heavily based on my father. Like, that's the guy that poured into me and taught me what I believe right and wrong is, that read the Bible to me, and is where I get all of that. Different time, different family, different everything, different moral compass, different Christopher. Completely and totally.
Sure.
It's just, you know.
And I guess in the absence of our brother here, I will kind of throw part of my rebuttal to that in, as far as like the different race indication is there, and obviously talking about how your moral compass was mostly developed by your father. It tinges.
See, but I'm not saying that different racial people have different morals by virtue of being. Because that's a slippery argument, really
yes,
quick.
As to whether or not they have a particular parent in the home is how that came off for a minute. I'm going, wait a minute, dude. We're talking about you haven't been born a different race, and the first thing you say is, well, my moral compass was mostly developed by my father, and if I was born a different race, would my father have been in the house?
You slipped the race in there, like at the very tail end.
But that's a place where I get to have a fun time with it, because I grew up without a father. My dad left 3 months before I was born, and I never had a father. My mother never married. She never had a long-term boyfriend. She was very particular about not letting any men get close to me unless she decided that was the man she was going to be with for the rest of her life. And she became such a heavy liberal feminist that she was never willing to make that commitment. She felt that she was above it. She felt that she was all that was necessary. So I guess if you were to think about it from that particular angle, I get a neat turn on that in thinking about what would be different if I had a dad. That's the fun part. So I get to kind of flip it back the other direction, because my moral compass was more developed out of my own learning, just things I independently pursued. Because obviously I didn't turn out to be what you would think would be the child of a liberal feminist under any circumstances. Most of them have that indoctrinated mentality you get off of learning everything from these jacked up college professors and everything, like most of the woke-tards and libs have. And I grew up the polar opposite of almost every single belief that my mother had. And not in a resenting fashion. There wasn't a resenting relationship there. She was a businesswoman, obviously, because she had to provide for me. She took that very seriously. It was the very first thing that was kind of instilled in her by my grandparents, and she took it to heart. Like, they're like, you're deciding you're going to raise a child by yourself. You better get your ass to work. And she developed her career very quickly. She prospered in her career very quickly, moved up the ladder ultra fast in comparison to most. And as some people would say, in a male-dominated atmosphere, obviously, back at that time. I don't know how much I agree with that. She was in the telecommunications field. The vast majority of the people she worked with on floor by floor as she worked her way up the ladder, so to speak. I met those folks. I was in her office on a regular basis, saw her coworkers. She worked mostly with women. She had very, very few male coworkers. That was a female-dominated field, and not just like phone operators and things that people would think of from
librarians,
misogynistic or because she worked in
like
telecommunications.
Traditionally, they
most
were
people think, it's all operators. If she worked in telecommunications,
special operators.
She actually worked from telecommunications. Like, she worked as an operator, entry level, for like not even a year. And they thought that because she exhibited a very mature personality for being so young, that she would be good to move into small business sales for selling communication systems to small businesses. Because, of course, this was the era when people were still having to buy like large phone layouts for their office buildings. This was before people were using voice over IP or cell phones or anything else. So they used to, call businesses and say, hey, they used to say, are your phone systems efficient? Are your offices utilizing communication the best that they exactly. So she went from being an operator, just answering normal junk, to moving into the small business sales department, to where you're trying to sell phone packages to businesses. And then she became a supervisor of teams in that office in a very short amount of time, and worked those teams that produced certain numbers on a monthly basis, and worked her way up from that point all the way up into the executive offices. But in that, there was no nurture side. She was very stagnant. I probably heard the words "I love you" maybe a half a dozen times over the course of 18 years.
I love you.
Not a hugging type. Very preoccupied with stress all the time. I'd get home from school. I'd be really excited about something, and she'd say, I want to watch my programs for a while. I got a lot on my mind. I'm stressed out. So I very seldom ever got to communicate the things that I enjoyed either. I developed...
That was like my dad.
Personality, as weird as this sounds, I developed my personality out of what I thought, and this is where things get funky. I idolized her as my only parent, as a child does. I mean, to quote a cheesy line, I guess, from a movie that I actually truly loved when it first came out, which was The Crow. Brandon Lee says to the heroin addict woman, Darla, the mother of Sarah, the little girl, as he squeezes the heroin out of, or the morphine out of her arm, excuse me, he says, "Mother is the word for God on the lips and hearts of all children." That's how that was for me. So no matter how sterile our situation was, I still felt as if she walked on water, essentially. And in my mind, I wanted to be the kind of man I thought she should have had if she had a respectful, loving, proper husband. So that's what developed my morality, is I decided I needed to be a real man
So many
because of
people
the
would have
fact
gone the
that
other
a
way.
good woman deserves a real man. And since my mom didn't get to have one, I knew someday I would probably be a husband, maybe be a father, and I needed to be what she didn't get and be the right side of it instead of the bad side of it. And that was kind of where a lot of my morals and stuff started to develop from. I started to idolize particular people, in facets of community. I started to idolize particular people, even from movies, man. I was a huge kid on action heroes. So, I thought I had to be a little bit Rambo. I had to be a little bit Arnold, I had to be, not now, unfortunately. I mean, the Rambo side wouldn't be too bad. Sylvester Stallone
least you
still
didn't pick
maintains some
Seagal.
stability. Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. I would have turned out awesome. I would have spray painted hair right
Retardedly
now instead
awesome.
of being baldy locks. Yeah, that's right.
That dude is such a fat fuck now, dude.
I would have a completely unmatched body double sitting in this chair talking to you right now, dude.
That dude looks like every Army Sergeant First Class.
Right?
So messed up.
Just sitting at the
I couldn't
fucking
even-
VFW.
I wouldn't be able to say, but
Slack
I'm sure.
dog. Dude.
That's awesome. Oh, if you guys haven't done it, dang it, we were talking about this the other night. Check out Space Ice for real. Go on Rumble and look up Space Ice and just watch some of his breakdowns. He does like 15-minute breakdowns of almost every Steven Seagal movie there's been. He hates them. Oh, dude, it is so freaking funny, man. Like if I'm up in the middle of the night and I don't feel like watching anything in particular, investing my mind in anything, I'll watch his latest video because it'll always get me busting up, dude. So yeah, if you wanna feel good ripping on the Seagal, you can watch somebody do it in that kind of cheesy, like giving it's like that movie intro voice. Like,
Yeah.
He'll be like, I can't even think of the name of a Seagal movie right now. That's how sad it is because they all
Above
suck.
the Law.
What was the Seagal movie? Above the Law. There we go. It'll be like, Above the Law is the blockbuster Hollywood hit where Steven Seagal proved to the world that he is a worthless sack of shit. And then he just, I mean, like, it rolls that way the whole entire time. Like,
Nice.
he picks apart like every major scene in this really sarcastic and funny fashion, dude. It kills me. So yeah, it's awesome stuff. And he loves Van Damme. So he goes in the opposite direction with every Van Damme movie, and the most ridiculous things that Van Damme does, he justifies them somehow.
Wasn't Van Damme? Wasn't he Time Cop? That was one of,
yes.
that was one of Van
Yes.
Damme's.
Yeah, Van Damme was. Yeah.
And he also did that weird thing where he was in the suspenders and dancing around with those Asian girls and everything, where he's like doing the splits over and over again on the floor. I can't remember what movie that was out of. That was out of a weird one. He had a lot of very questionable things go on. Obviously, a lot of those action movies have. Oh yeah, Bloodsport. Yep. Yeah, there's. Yeah. The fucking dust in the eyes and
Kumite,
fragments
dude.
of glass and crap. Oh, dude.
Have
Yeah.
you guys
And all
ever?
of those are in
Have
there,
you guys
too.
ever seen How It Should Have Ended? You ever watched that? There's
Bloodsport,
a
how it
YouTube
should have
channel.
ended?
Well, I
No.
mean, but they do like they go back and they just like grab all kinds of movies. They do animated videos, but then
that's
they go
funny.
back and they rewrite it and they'll be like how it should have ended, right? And then they'll do like some funny things like they did
That's awesome.
they did Lord of the Rings and they boiled all 3 movies down to one, and it was like Frodo was like I'll do it, I'll take the ring, and then Gandalf's like hold on. I have an idea that just might work. And then it's like the eagles are just flying them over top of the volcano. And they're like, whee! And they drop the ring. And it was like directed by Peter Jackson. It was like,
Right.
it's just that fast. It's like, it's stuff like that. But they went back and rehashed the Gladiator, like how it should have ended since they just came out with the Gladiator 2. And he's like, he's in, the arena and, he's having his epic showdown with, Marcus Aurelius' son, Commodus, and there's like 50 people around him, and he just starts kicking sand. He's like, sand in the eye, sand in the eye, sand in the eye, sand in the eye, and everybody's like, ah, and he's like, just stabs all of them, and he's like, done. It's like
That's fucking awesome.
stupid
That's so
stuff like that.
ridiculous,
Yeah,
man. That's awesome. Yeah, I love kicking into stuff like that from time to time, which is why I think it's necessary. If you guys haven't seen it already, you see the video that gives an explanation as to how it came about for Joe Biden to pardon Hunter. I
You can
have it
pull
on
it up.
deck, man. Oh, I've
I
had
think
it sitting here
that
all
for
night, man.
does that really answer your question? I think that, I mean, obviously the answer is yes, but like everything that we interact with, we look at, the people we meet, the situations that happen to us, are just interpretations of those things, right? And that all of our parents' interpretations, the cultural norms, the cultural myths we all share family wise, like your interpretation of everything would be totally different, the way you view the world, right? It's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I could agree with that entirely. And I guess panning back, if it would leave everybody hanging on the edge of their seats, they're like, wait a minute, dude, what if you did grow up with a father? I think if I grew up with a father, I would have been a softer man, to be honest, not a harder one. Because I grew up with a
Well, I don't want to
constant
know that
feeling
person.
that I needed to. Grew up with a constant feeling that I needed to achieve. I felt like I was never doing enough. I always felt like I needed to do more and more for everybody, and I always wanted to impress everybody and feel as if I was rising above every occasion instead of
But
just kind of meeting expectations.
Isn't that also though an argument for the fact that you were a product of your environment? It's just the only difference is from your environment.
Oh yeah.
You took it, internalized it, and went a different direction with it
Yeah,
than another
absolutely.
person
Oh no,
would have.
I wouldn't change it at all. I never would.
It's just
And
interesting.
what I'm saying is that a lot of people feel that if you grew up, I mean, you've seen these situations with these broads out of Hollywood that adopt kids, and now every one of their adopted children all of a sudden thinks they're freaking transgender. And they go, oh, that's just natural. They made that decision on their own. It's like, okay, they adopted 3 kids of 3 different races from 3 different freaking continents, and all 3 of those children all think they're little girls when they were all biologically born boys. Are you fucking kidding me? And you don't think that their mother, their single Hollywood mom, had any influence over that crap at all? So, having a liberal feminist mom
I did not.
producing somebody like me, unexpected to say the least. Luckily I had a grandfather who was in the Air Force, and he let me keep guns at his house because that was a big no-no. Even when it was coming around ages where it was normal, even when I was going out and hunting regularly, and I was going out, trap shooting and stuff like that regularly. When I was in Ducks Unlimited, I obviously was a Boy Scout, and I did so many different things that pertained to hunting and fishing. I had to keep all my gear at my grandfather's because my mother would not allow any of it to come into her home.
Was she one of those moms
So-
who want to like let you have Nerf guns either?
Oh no, it wasn't anything like that. No, she was so wrapped up in her career and everything. It was a busy thing. I played outside all the time and did absolutely stupid crap. Like I was telling a story earlier today about how we used to drag this wooden rocking horse up on the roof of the garage when the snow would get all banked up and everything, and we would ride that sucker off because those little rocking freaking pieces
You
of
get
wood
it
were
going?
like skis. So we'd get on that thing, and we'd start right up by the ridge of the roof and start rocking
Kids
that
today
horse and
can
ride that
never.
sucker off and face first right into the snowdrifts, dude,
When,
all the time. I mean, we were begging for death.
When I was
I mean, I had so many sutures by the time I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
It was insane.
never broken a
man.
bone, but I've had hundreds
God,
of
I have.
stitches in my life.
Me too.
But when I was
Yep.
I think when I was like 11, the church that my dad was pastoring at the time, the blacktop parking lot was built on like a 45-degree angle. And then at the edge of the parking lot, because this was in northern Kentucky, the edge of the parking lot had this retaining wall between the church property and then the neighbors. And that retaining wall probably dropped off like 5 feet, just instantly vertically. And then there was the house on the other side of it. And so we used to start up by the street, me and my brothers, and I would put them on the skateboard and just get them
Nice.
going as fast as I could get them going down this 45-degree incline on the blacktop. And then the trick was when you hit the edge of the church, you had to like lean all the way to the right, skid
Right.
the skateboard out, and then keep going down the hill so you'd hit the street and keep going. Well, one time I got my brother going so fast, it didn't matter how hard he leaned. He was like, all the momentum was going forward. He hit the edge of the parking lot where that retaining wall was and just launched into the air, just full
that's beautiful.
full starfish, just and just hit the edge of this house, like probably going at least like 12, 15 miles an hour, just boom. boom, and just starfished against the edge of the
That's
house.
fucking awesome,
Oh,
dude.
And
that's
just
beautiful.
fell to 5 feet and just crumpled. And of course, you know what me and my other brother did, right? It was scatter, and we just
Oh, yeah.
left,
Oh, yeah.
just ran and left him laying there.
I was telling another goofy story.
Full recurs, though.
The person was in the house when it happened, and they come outside. And they're look, what happened? And my brother's like picking himself up off the ground and like trying to hop over the retaining
it's
wall and
freaking
run
awesome.
away. But he got his bell rung so hard he's like running in circles trying to like,
Right.
you know. It's just,
I was telling
yeah, we
another
did.
goofy
We did
story
some.
from
We
young,
did some
man.
stupid returns to stuff when I was a kid. man.
Absolutely.
So
Growing up in
that's
the
what it is to be
Midwest.
a young man. Like you're actively
is.
trying to kill yourself, and it's just
absolutely.
by the grace of God and adults that watch over you that you somehow
Oh,
make it to young
No
adulthood.
freaking doubt, dude. Yeah, there are so many reasons why I shouldn't have. And one of the goofy things I did when I was really young, which you would think you'd teach somebody a lesson, if you're kind of the true grit sort of a boy, you don't learn from anything, man. Young age, I realized that my grandparents had these floor vents all over their house because in the Midwest, a lot of the heating comes through the floors because a lot of cellars were converted into basements later on. Their house was built in the 40s. And I crawled into the vent after seeing Goonies,
Oh, dude.
thinking I was going to find my way to some damn magic
One-eyed
place.
Willie's treasure, dude.
But what I didn't realize was that the subfloor
Zig
was
your pants the whole
nailed
time.
through originally before their carpet was laid, so there was nails down into the top of the ventilation. So once I got my clothes in there, I couldn't frickin' get back out. So I was stuck in there for hours because my grandmother couldn't
Shit.
figure out what to do until my grandfather got home. When my grandfather got home, he had already discussed this with her outside the room. So I'm hearing the going on, and then he walks in, and the first thing he says is, "I just called the fire department. They're going to have to cut your legs off to get you out." So I'm bawling my eyes out of that.
Classic.
Now I'm in the vent going,
Classic.
you
Yeah.
know, so I'm in there freaking out. And those kinds of situations, you think after you finally get pulled out of there, I relaxed essentially to the point where after getting screamed at, I relaxed to the point where I was kind of
You're
able
so
to be
relieved
pulled
to
out
not
as a sack
have your
of
legs
bones.
cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
in what world
by
is
the
that
time
going to
all
help
that had
this
taken place,
situation? It
you'd
doesn't
think that
occur
was
to
going
you.
to fix some stuff, and I did something equally as stupid within less than 7 days. I mean,
Right.
flat out. You know,
Well,
I
as
was
a-
in the rafters of the garage then, thinking that somehow that was going to lead me to some fucking buried treasure within less than a week,
kid, the
and
fact
fell
that
out
you
of that and knocked the wind out of myself.
yeah, as a kid, the fact that you walk away from something seems to be evidence enough that was a really cool thing to
Right.
do, and so you go.
Yeah,
you go
that was
do it
all
again.
right. It worked out
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah, it's very traumatic at that moment only,
Right.
and then you're like, man.
Right. Well, dude, we
If I
still
would've
do
done this
that as
differently.
adults, man.
This is
Mhm.
true.
I still do it to this freaking
Yeah,
day.
absolutely, dude.
I do,
That's
yeah.
how. That's
Every
what.
time I go out anywhere with my kids, I try to see if I can hurt myself.
That's
It's
why you meet
important.
Marines that have married a stripper twice. You know, I survived
Oh,
The
first
same
no,
one.
That's
Right, yeah,
oh,
sure. Same one, different one. You know,
That's awful.
you're awful.
Say hi to your mom for me. Say hi
Yeah,
to yourself.
you-
She'll be on
yeah,
stage
your
in
mom
10
for
minutes.
me. Fucking, oh yeah, that's Biff from Back to the Future. Say hi to your mom for me.
It's such a great movie.
Do you a favor of having your car towed all the way here, and all you've got for me is light beer. Fucking.
What are you looking at,
classic,
butthead?
dude. You look at butthead.
It's a great movie. Dude.
Yeah, it is. Is that it? Was
awesome.
that the last question, dude?
No, I
It
still.
was my last question.
That was his last one. Yeah, we
Oh.
got
Mm.
you and I got one to go.
I had questions.
So this is tis the season. So this is a two-parter. I'm gonna ask you
Oh
guys
no.
greatest Christmas film of all time, and
Hmm.
then if you could choose one Christmas film that deserves to be completely and totally erased
Mm.
from public consciousness, and the world would be a better place for not having it, what would that be? So best, and then one that should just be erased from everybody's mind, like neuralizer style. You don't have to worry about that one anymore.
The best one's the harder one for me.
Okay,
Truly.
well, you can start with either.
I'm torn between a ton of nostalgia right now. All of a sudden, because Gremlins is a Christmas
It is.
movie. Man.
Gremlins-
I
Gremlins
absolutely
is great.
loved Gremlins, man. That movie for some reason resonates very, very heavily
Quite.
with me. I mean, that's definitely going to be one of the best. You got your good feel iconic ones like A Christmas Story and everything. And when you see that as a kid, that movie has a good impact, and it
Oh, yeah.
still does to kids right now. But as an adult, it loses some of that luster all of a sudden. Gremlins didn't. I could rewatch
Christmas
Gremlins
Story?
right
Nah, that movie has a special place in my heart. But then again, it
That's
takes place
awesome.
in Indiana, like in the Midwest.
I was gonna say
And
you
when
can
I-
relate
when I watched
hardcore
that
to that
film,
one, huh?
Every person in that film represents somebody in my family that I know.
Right.
And so
that's awesome.
because of that, I'm like, that movie will never get old. And there's that
I had a
scene.
little less conventional.
This isn't my
than
greatest Christmas movie of all time, but I do just want to speak to the veracity of A Christmas Story. But that scene, the unsung hero of that movie is the father, because you spend the whole time he's supposed to be like the bad guy, you know. And it's like they try to make him out to be this like grump, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and he's, you know, the scene with the lamp, they try to make him out to be an idiot and like all this stuff. But then when you come down to the end of the film, the dad comes through so hardcore. Like, he doesn't just give him the perfect gift, the thing he's been after the whole movie. He waits till the end, all the presents are done, and like, did you have a good Christmas, son? And Ralphie's like, yeah, I guess. He goes, what's that over in the corner? It's hidden behind the desk. And then and it's like, it comes out perfectly, and it's just like, dude, great,
the
great
suspense
scene,
factor in
iconic
that
scene.
one is fantastic.
Yeah, no,
that
great movie.
lined up many parents to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And has been a big thing for a long time. I actually, even my mom, I will say, actually pulled something similar to that on me once, but she got a little bit more devious with it. I was expecting a gift that I was really set on, and I was thinking there was a good possibility I was going to get it, but there was nothing under the tree that could possibly be it. And she hid a hint inside a tiny box that she slid in amongst ornaments, and told me maybe I didn't look hard enough over and over again. So I'm looking through everything, and I finally find this stupid little box.
You
and
wind
it
up
is
in
a
the
note.
vents. You're down in the floor.
Exactly. I'm back in fucking Goonies all over again, man. Yeah. No, but it was pretty creative, I will say.
Nice.
You know, there wasn't a lot of that. That was when I was really young. But like I said, I mean, as careers started to escalate, everything kind of went.
Sure.
But when I was little, there was more of that left.
My grandparents, they used to do the gifts that were simultaneously awesome for us kids, and then also practical jokes on my parents.
Like
One year they got us, stuff like that. One year they got us a hamster in like the full cage. And it was like, that went home with us. My parents were so
awesome.
mad because my mom hates
dude.
rodents
That's far
completely.
beyond
And
getting
my
that
granddad was
electronic
just
keyboard or something.
laughing the whole time. And then to complete the story, because we used to do the 2 Christmases thing, we would drive home, see my dad's parents, and then go see my mom's parents. And so the stupid hamster had to go with us from one grandparent's house to the other for Christmas morning. We did Christmas Eve, Christmas morning. The next morning we wake up, and my other grandparents' house, it got real cold snap that year, and some of the pipes froze. So my dad and my granddad are underneath the house, like thawing the pipes out to get the water back running again. And us boys are helping them, and we're taking them supplies and whatnot. And then I hear my mom and my grandma just start shrieking inside the house. So we go inside to try to figure out what's going on. And my oldest younger sister at the time was, I think, maybe three or four. She was real young. And she had taken the hamster, and she had it on its back in her hand like a baby. She was trying to hold it like a baby, and she had the water bottle from inside the hamster's cage and had jammed the metal spout of the water bottle into the hamster's mouth and like down its throat, trying to feed it the bottle. And then in the process of doing that, she either strangled or broke the thing's back or whatever, but she killed it in her hands trying to do the Darla thing.
Full Lenny, dude.
And my mom and my grandma's in the one room because the water came back on, so she's doing like my grandma used to do like the Holy Ghost dance thing, and she's like praising Jesus and whatever. The water's back on, and my mom's in the other room shrieking and screaming because my sister's got this dead hamster in her hand that she's strangulating. And it was just like, what's going on? And then my dad, he comes in and he goes, oh, because then he had to do the thing because like my 2 brothers are freaking out, and I'm like, the hamster's dead. So he's like, so he has to get in the car, drive down to PetSmart the day after Christmas and go replace the hamster that was the kid's pet and bring back another one. It just turned into this whole big Christmas.
That should be how they advertise hamsters, dude. Hamsters, totally expendable. Yeah.
But yeah, you brought
fantastic.
that memory out
$20
of the ether, dude. I completely forgotten about all of that. So and
That's
then
absolutely beautiful.
and then
And the sad part
holy
is more
crap,
people
so
are
then
going
we
to be
drive
offended
back,
about the dead hamster
I
than
know
they
they
were
are.
about all
so
the
then we
midget
drive
talk
back to
tonight.
Wisconsin. And it's like a 12-hour drive
Poor fuzzball.
back home. And we get halfway home, and we're like looking in. We had this 15-passenger van at the time, so we get in the back while Dad's getting
The Mormon
gas.
van.
I was gonna say, dude.
Pretty much.
From the church.
Yeah, and we open up the back of the van, and somehow this hamster had dug up all of its bedding and frozen the little running wheel inside, so the running wheel wouldn't rotate. And then it had climbed up, pushed the top of the cage off. And I'm looking in the back, and my dad's like, "Is the stupid?" He would always call it the rat. He was like, "Is the rat okay?" And I looked at him, and I was like, "It's not in its cage." And my mom goes, "What?" And she like picks her feet up. So it's like we did half the drive back to Wisconsin, not knowing where the stupid hamster was. It was gone. And so we get back home, and my dad's like, "I cannot believe I'm gonna have to go buy another freaking rat to replace this thing." And so we're pulling the bags out of the back of the van, and then I can't remember if it was me or one of my brothers or whatever. They look, and they just caught like a flash of white as this thing runs between two of the seats, and my brother's like, "There it is!" And he reaches out and he grabs it, throws it back in the cage. We take the cage inside. My mom's like, she took I can't remember, something from the hutch, and would like put it on top of the cage, just so this stupid thing couldn't like get out anymore. Because he was like,
cinder block.
She goes, "If that thing gets out of its cage in the house,
Hope that cage
I'm
loses its
killing
tensile
it."
strength.
Like, she hated that stupid hamster. And then
That's freaking awesome.
then hamsters are only supposed to live like 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
That stupid thing went on to live for like 8 years. Like it was like it was
Your dad
so
bought the
old.
It's the
$40
resentment
he
keeping it alive,
right.
dude.
Your dad bought the $40 hamster, not the $10. Right? All organic.
You got the one that was
food.
fed the good news.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, best
It
and worst
wasn't a
Christmas
real
movies.
hamster.
You guys got to pick one.
That's fantastic.
One for each category.
Oh man, that is. I agree with you, TJ. It's harder to pick the best Christmas movie because like I like a lot of Christmas movies for a lot of different reasons, right? Like I think like obviously like It's a Wonderful Life is fantastic.
Yeah.
I like two different versions of Christmas Carol. I actually really like the CGI one with Jim Carrey. I think that's
I
fantastic.
do too. I think it's a
Yeah.
fantastic film.
It is. And
Yeah.
then like the really, really old one from like the 40s. I don't remember who's in that one. But that one is really good also. But then like I fucking love both Home Alone movies. And this
Classics.
this isn't my answer for the worst Christmas movie ever, but any Home Alone after Home Alone 2 is ass and doesn't need that could
Oh,
be just
definitely.
they're totally irrelevant, okay?
Sure.
But like I also I fucking love Elf. I think White Christmas is fantastic. Like the old movie White Christmas, right? I think
What
that
did you think of Bad Santa?
Bad Santa's funny, but it's it's not like it's not
Wouldn't
on
show
my
it to my
like
kids.
not on my like
No,
list of favorites.
definitely not.
But like
I was on the fence with it. I don't like Billy Bob Thornton as a person all too much. He's kind of always...
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I try to look at actors for what they're worth to a degree, except for in action films, because the good action actors only usually got one persona. Like Sylvester Stallone's the same dude in every film. Jason Statham's the same dude in every film. They're not going to be any different.
Oi! I said, step off, mate.
Yeah. No, like Jingle All the Way. I fucking love Jingle All the Way.
Oh,
Like that's a great one too, dude. Like and Gremlins, like that's classic. Elf.
Yeah.
I fucking love Elf.
Yeah,
But-
Gremlins I think I would probably stick to just because of the nostalgia factor for me. That was one that was big on me as a kid.
Lethal Weapon.
And it
Die
was a movie
Hard.
that should have scared me and didn't
Die
in
Hard.
any way.
Gremlins,
thought
I
it
can
was
see why
awesome.
it's
Die
good.
Hard
Yeah.
is a huge one.
Like we said in the group
But yeah,
chat, Lethal Weapon.
A
too.
lot of other kids that were my age were horrified by Gremlins, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Just
I
don't get 'em
actually
wet.
liked.
It
I
was-
liked the bad ones too. I thought the bad ones were awesome looking.
the Christmas movie.
I liked their look.
The Christmas movie for me that could just disappear and wouldn't matter. Like my least favorite one is probably one that's somebody's favorite. I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm sure it is because I'm going to drop a frag at the end of this. So go
National
ahead.
Lampoon. I hate that movie.
Oh, you hate that one.
It's terrible. Yes,
I think it's hilarious.
that's it.
It's one of the only Chevy Chase movies that I can sit through.
Yeah.
Actually,
Nope.
that I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's the
Like
it's
We Were
the
Spies.
rogue,
like that one annoys the fuck out of me.
Same.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but no. The Christmas movie, like, nope. Ass. Total cheeks.
If I'm trying to shoot for the bad ones, There is unending amounts of them, but if I was just going to
Every
fire
Hallmark
right off
Christmas
as
movie
shit that
ever.
should never have existed, Medea Christmas. I mean, seriously,
TJ,
man.
you are why we're not popular in the southeastern states, buddy. Okay.
Dude, no, seriously.
Oh,
though.
hello.
And I mean, I can throw much deeper ones out than that. I mean, the Santa Claus movies weren't all terrible,
dude, I love
but they
the Santa
got
Claus.
worse as they went.
The
Like
first one-
Santa
the
Claus
first one-
three-
the
First, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Santa Claus.
Santa Claus 3, the escape clause thing, where they threw what's his name into
Martin
it as
Short.
Jack Frost.
Martin
yeah,
Short.
Martin Short.
Yeah.
And Martin Short's not a terrible actor by any means. He's played some incredible roles.
Yeah.
But that movie, man, oh, dude.
Yeah. No, total
Um,
bullshit. Just like Home Alone
and
3.
then,
Like, why?
Because Hollywood can't come up with a
No,
new
I
idea,
know.
dude.
I know
They're
why.
bereft.
It's just total fucking
Oh,
garbage,
yeah.
dude.
They move them all to
I'd
gonna
rather shit in
say-
my hands and clap than watch that movie.
I'm gonna say I think "It's a Wonderful Life" is one of the greatest film masterpieces
For sure.
of all time. Frank Capra. It's a great film. Was not even that popular when it came out, but damn, has that movie stood the test of time. It's been recreated so many times, and then just the statement that the movie makes, the moral that it comes down at the end to, right? That no man is worthless
Yeah.
Mhm.
if he touches the life of others. I think it's a great film.
Yeah.
My dad actually proposed to my mom underneath the Christmas tree after watching that film, and has a special
that's
place
wild.
in my family's history. And every year I definitely
Kudo.
make a special time to sit that one aside and watch that
Death
film.
Halls.
And then
Excuse me. That's
and then
another
if you
terrible
guys
one.
haven't
Yes.
seen it, there's a version of it that you can find on Amazon where it's recreated in color.
Oh, that's
And my
cool.
wife and I found that just a few years ago, and I will say, if
Is
you
it
go
just
back
the
and
original
watch
film remastered in color?
it,
Or
it's
okay.
remastered in color. Yep, the original film. And I will say, if you go back and watch it in color, there's things about it when you see it in vivid color that you never picked up before
Yeah,
when you
I
were
bet.
watching it in the black and white, and it changes a lot about it. So
I'm gonna
that
have to do
one for
that.
me, I think is I'm going to say it's the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and for good reason. And then if I could erase one movie from public consciousness that we would never have to suffer through ever again, it would be the unholy dumpster fire abortion that is Elf. I
right,
hate
that's
that
it.
film. I hate that film
Booted.
so much. And you want
Booted.
to talk about a guy that is
Another one on the bottom
completely-
list is Christmas with the Cranks. Another
And
one just
That
popped
one's
in my
terrible.
head.
totally-
Yeah, Matthew
Yeah,
Broderick.
that movie's not too good. But another actor that is just completely and totally one dimensional, and I don't understand why people like him so much, or
Will Ferrell.
why he still has a career, is Will Ferrell. Like he
I
is
agree with
he is
that
Will
entirely.
Ferrell
I've never
in
found him
every
funny.
film that he's ever in, and like Step Brothers. When he's Will Ferrell in Step Brothers, it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Talladega Nights turned
Yep.
out pretty good,
Indeed.
and Anchorman.
I
Any other
hate
film
Anchorman.
besides-
I hate Anchorman.
Any other film besides those three, and I'm just like, it's Will Ferrell, man. I don't like it. And then when he played Buddy the Elf, I was like, this movie is Retursda like on its face, and everything about it is
I
stupid.
think I liked him better as the voice of Lord Business in the Lego movie than anything else he's ever done, honestly, because I didn't have to look at him.
There you go. Yeah, you didn't have to see.
But then
his
they pop
face.
him out as the dad, and then I did have to look at him, and then I was disappointed. I'm like, you mother!
I
You
will
had to
say
find
this
a way to
though.
put your face in there.
He did
Had
one.
to.
He did one film. And now I'm trying to remember the title of it, and it was not a comedy, and the movie is about
Is it the soccer
like
thing?
no some lady like female author is trying to come up with a new book, and she's writing it, and like all the stuff
Oh, I
that
know
she's
what you're
writing
talking about.
starts happening to him. And it ended up being I watched it one time, and because it was not typical Will Ferrell, I was intrigued enough to sit through it, and I was like, it was an interesting film.
I think I
but
know
other
what
than
you're
that,
talking
yeah,
about.
I
Oh, man.
almost can't stand Will Ferrell.
No, I love Elf. I do. I think
Yeah?
Elf is great. Absolutely. Sorry. Now, the worst Christmas movie though.
I thought you said Alf, man.
Alf.
I'm just gonna hear it as Alf.
Alf Christmas.
Sorry, not
Now,
sorry.
the one
Getting my
Christmas
phone.
movie none of us mentioned though is The Gift of the Magi by Adventures in Odyssey.
Focus on the family, baby.
Dude, VeggieTales Christmas.
What do you guys think about the? What do you guys think about the old?
VeggieTales
What do you guys think
Christmas,
about the old claymations?
Dig 'em.
Like, yeah, like
I
all the
pulled
like
back
Rudolph.
a whole
Oh
bunch
yeah,
of-
Frosty.
yep.
Oh yeah,
Year Without
yeah.
a Santa
Yeah,
Claus.
Yeah,
Rudolph
no,
and
those are-
Frosty and all that stuff.
yeah.
I've dug all those out and had my
Frosty's
kids
not-
watch all of them. They dig all
Not
of them.
claymation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I thought
absolutely.
they would, and they do. Actually,
Yeah.
my
Santa Claus
oldest
coming
is
to town.
huge into retro everything, but he's got a brain that loves to absorb dates. So he remembers the original date of like every film. He remembers the original date of like every, original like TV show that ever came out, when the pilots came out, how they were composed, if they changed writers.
There's a word
He
for
absorbs all that stuff really, really heavily. I know there is. But yeah, no, and it.
What?
Oh,
What are you
dude.
laughing at?
Oh no, that's such a terrible thing. But
Does he make
it is-
eye contact?
oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
At all times, dude. Yeah, no, it's a strange fascination because it doesn't fit very much else of his personality at all. But for some reason, he loves retro everything, including retro gaming and everything like that as well. But he loves like all the old original Mickey Mouse series from the 1920s and 1930s. But since a very young age, he wanted to see him. He wanted to start watching him when he was like 5. He'd managed to look up and see somehow that Plane Crazy came out in 1926, and he asked me if I could find it. I was like, yeah, I can definitely find it.
The Pirate
Find
Bay has
anything on a
everything.
good
Son.
that's right.
You just have to make sure
All I
you
have to do is put
you
my
just
eye
have to
patch
make
on,
sure
boy.
that you type in the title exactly correct and read what you're downloading.
Oh, dude.
You're like, what is? Hold
That's
on, what
so
is
terrible.
this hairy twatter? What is that? I do think it's pretty funny though, because we were watching Santa Claus is Coming to Town the other night, and I was laughing at just how like simplistic the script is. They get down to the end, and the wizard's like, well, I only have this magic feed corn left. And all this can do is make reindeer fly. I don't know how we're going to use this. And I'm just like, okay. Like, way to shoehorn that one in, guys. Like, there's like an entire writing staff sitting around and they're like, how do we work the reindeer into this, dudes? Like, all right, everybody go around the room. Like, what are the ideas,
Oh, God.
But-
It's sad to think about some of the ways that some of those worked, indeed.
You guys have some weird
But
names.
there was iconic voices back in the day, man.
Yeah.
That's another thing I think about. A lot of the voice actors on like the old stop motion animation stuff were.
Yeah, you remember Peter,
Sure,
the Peter
like-
Cottontail one? Remember that one? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We used to, yeah. You guys have some weird names.
I do.
You see him?
Another one that we haven't mentioned was Holiday Inn. That's another really good film with Bing Crosby. Holiday Inn,
Oh.
yeah.
Why did
Yeah.
my ass think of fucking
Which
that Queen Latifah
if you go back and watch, there's
You were
three.
thinking of a bad state you
There's
had. at a
actually
Holiday
there's
Inn,
actually
right?
three
Yeah, right.
Christmas. There's 3 Christmas films. One's called, and they all come out of the 30s and early 40s. One's called Christmas in Connecticut. If you guys have never seen it, so it's a really good
I've
film.
seen that. Yep.
Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, and then of course White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. If you go through and you look at all 3 of those films, the estate, the country house that they use, is the same set in all 3 of those films.
Oh, that's hilarious.
that they go back
Christ.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
That doesn't surprise me.
Just an interesting anecdote.
No, it is. It just doesn't. It makes total sense. Like the amount of resources that Hollywood had at the time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
reusing sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you laughing at? Did you laugh at your new nickname on the screen or something?
I've actually watched the evolution of the names. It's also great that you made yourself Lord business in the midst of it.
Did you see all the ones I changed you to?
Oh yeah,
I wasn't paying attention at all.
Yeah, I can
Man-
see it because of course the
man-loving gigolo.
length is changing because it's
I
got
just-
that fucking
I
it's
just clicked
got
in.
that like weird lavender homo color on the
Right.
bars. So I'm watching that change length. Luckily, like in my environment here, I can see because everything in here is somewhat muted. I'm watching it, kind of going. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It's all right.
I don't like dudes enough to understand when it changes length. Oh, There
TJ
you
knows
go.
all about that, dude. Manhole covers.
That's right, man. Oh,
All right.
Gotta
So
keep
is
your
this,
manhole covered.
What's
why
your,
does it
what's your
sound like
last-
sage advice from your grandpa? Gotta keep your manhole. What's that
That's
fucking
right.
What's that fucking movie, dude? Office Space. Watch cornhole, bud.
What is it? That's what I want. That's what I want Pete Hegseth to do when he takes over the DoD. What is
Go
it?
to jail?
Dude.
What is it you say that you do here?
Oh yeah.
I want to see. I want to see that question go
Oh,
around.
that would be friggin' awesome.
I deal
Anyway.
with the customers.
Yeah, I take the
That's Lindsey
requisitions
Graham.
from the customers.
I deal with the customers. The Ukrainians come. I give them the specs. I deal with I'm good with the customers. That's him.
That
Anyway.
scene where
That's
they're out
awesome.
back and just beating the shit out of that printer. Like,
Bro, yeah.
I feel that
Mhm.
every
All
time.
the time, dude. I've done it. Actually, my wife and I took a laptop and completely obliterated it once for fun because I've done it many times. And when she got in on it, she actually started to feel the love of destroying an electronic device. There's a lot in it, man. We
Teenagers do
mutilated
that
it. It was
every
one that
day.
it just wasn't worth me. What's that?
Destroy electronic devices. Listen, teenagers
Oh,
do
yeah.
that every day.
No freaking doubt.
All right, last question.
Last question.
Last question. If the universe is infinite, does that mean that there's a version of you out there who's already figured out the meaning of life? And if so, would you even be here? It's like your questions
go
have
Rick and
all
Morty
been
with it.
retarded tonight, Brandon.
You need to change your
There's literally
undername to
everything in
to
space,
Lord
Morty.
Returs the.
Oh yeah, your questions have been returned.
I think I think questions like this are fascinating because,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go back to like a theological standpoint, not actually be too funny on this, but the idea that God is an infinite being outside of time
Mm-hmm.
and created the world and then created time inside of our world would suggest that if he's infinite and outside of that, then he can create anything outside of the space and time that we inhabit, because we
Mhm.
were created to be mortal beings inside of the realm that he put us in and subjugated to a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I am completely ready to believe that an infinite, all-powerful God could have absolutely created multiple
universes,
versions, infinite universes, whatever you want to call them,
dimensions, yeah.
dimensions, whatever. And then this always raises an interesting theory that I've had about, the deja vu effect, if you want to call it that, because it's like I've heard said before, where you have this unique experience of like, I've been here before, and I've like to the point where it's like I've been able to predict things like 5 seconds out. I know what's getting ready to happen, right? And then the phone rings, and you're like, that's fucking weird, right? And it's like I've had that happen several times in my life. And I heard somebody say of it one time that they thought that that's where you're seeing like dimensions or
Essentially
timelines
overlapping.
fold
yeah.
in on themselves or coincide, right? With that was like a point where two timelines like merged and became one again. Interesting theory. I'm not arguing for it or
and
against
actually,
it.
there's vast groups of Christians that actually believe that there is some form of interdimensionality that goes on, and I've dropped this on you guys before, but it was in a context I think through chats or something else prior to when I was a permanent part of this duo, because Chris is a guest, and
Only a guest.
That's
always
it,
a
dude.
guest.
He's always here,
Always,
dude. He must like us.
Always a guest's made, but
I'm a
never the
glutton
guest. I
for
don't know how that'll
punishment.
work out.
Always a
That's
guest,
right.
never the host. Yeah.
That's so messed
Always
up.
taken, never giving.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
He's like, I went into jail a tight end and came out a wide receiver.
Oh no! Oh no! That's
we have an
fantastic.
uncanny way of taking questions and just totally devolving them into just like gay
Yeah.
jokes and midgets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's dudes right
Every
there.
single one of them almost has come back to that at some point in
Yes,
time
yeah.
or another. Yeah, it says a lot
Game-
for where we're at.
I came with gay midgets.
I'm not ashamed.
Yeah. The final part of your question being, then would I be here?
Because they already
I-
figured out the meaning of life.
I think that presupposes that I am a singularity. And I don't have a high enough view of myself to suggest that I exist in infinite universes. Because there must be, if there's infinite, then there must be just as many universes where I never happen as I do.
True.
So I would say the short answer to that would have to be no in that instance, right? Just by math.
No, you don't think that
It's a
you
real
would
chicken
exist
or the
any
egg
longer. Or you do
situation,
think
yeah.
that you would.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly think that I would, just because essentially I look at it from a Rick and Morty side.
He's like,
Oh,
I
it's
am,
like,
I am
am.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? No matter
Chris
how
is
many
like,
times it gets
yeah, you know,
fucked
I
up,
guess
end
I
up
don't think
back
I
in there.
would. He's like, well, I fucking would because I'm not a pussy.
This is that's right. I will crawl my ass back out of the vortex.
Right.
Cannot snuff this shit out. You know, yeah. It's the portal gun philosophy.
In
You know it,
every universe ever,
I
there is a
exist.
TJ
That's
killing
right.
his father to ensure that he always has the same origin story. He is
friggin' doubt.
He is Batman. And he
That's
always-
right.
You're the
That's
worst
exactly
version of
right.
Wolverine there
That's
is.
the way to
That's
look
what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is, dude.
That's awesome.
I am Marvel
But no.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. Flame on. What the fuck?
What?
Yeah.
That was a great film, by the way.
That was a great film.
They did a good. They did
Yeah.
a good
Cool
one with that
stuff.
one.
But I don't know how big of fans you guys were of Rick and Morty. It reminded me of a situation
Pretty
where Morty comes to Rick when he's in the middle of trying to work on something, and he keeps bugging him about wanting to make like girls like him. Because he's going to that dance or whatever, or wanting
Right.
to make that girl like him, and he sets him up with that freaking funky like cologne crap or whatever he sprays on him that's made out of like part of DNA of like a vole and some other junk, and it like I can't remember. I think it's Summer comes afterward, and she's like, "Don't you think that could have a bad effect?" And he's like, "Oh, not unless he gets close to somebody who has the flu or something like
Right?
that."
Yeah.
It was the flu season dance or something like that. So by the time it's all said and done with, like the whole entire city is like all these jacked up freaking mutants that all want to like go have, they're all like trying to have his baby or some crap.
It devolves.
turns
That
into,
devolves into the
Yeah.
Cronenberg episode, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It does. And then Cronenberg Morty. Yeah, Cronenberg Rick. Yeah, that's some freaking hilarious
think
stuff. So
one of
what
the
they end up doing by
yeah.
the time it's all said and done with is he finds a dimension where they're gonna die, and they just take their place because they
Right.
screwed up the world they were in so freaking much that it was uninhabitable at that point. So they just took over lives of other copies of them in a different dimension that were going to be deceased. So
No, they don't do
that's-
that. They
then they
teleport
bury
in and they kill them. And
Well,
then bury
yes, they
them,
kill them
and then bury
inadvertently.
them in the
Like,
backyard.
yeah.
because they come back to that seasons later. And they're like, "Why are you so effed up, Morty? I've literally killed myself, Summer. I'm buried in the backyard."
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Yep,
one of
yep,
the
yep.
funniest throwaway Rick and Morty jokes because the most hilarious thing about that TV series is they'll just inject a joke and then just leave it and never come back to
Yeah.
it, and you're like, what was that? And like one of my favorites ever is when they introduce the dude that's Abradolf Linkler.
Oh yeah.
he's like running around. And he's like, "I will emancipate you from your worthless body." It's just like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Linkler.
Yeah, shit like
oh
that.
yeah,
Abradolf
yeah. That was
Linkler.
such a. Oh, dude, it was so messed up.
Yeah.
Everything about that series was horrible and fantastic.
Well, I
at the
have-
same
first
time.
four
And
seasons,
of course, Justin
absolute
Roiland. Yeah,
I have one last
exactly. And
question.
then it devolved as a lot of them do, and Justin Roiland, he
Yeah.
I mean, he had problems. He admitted wholeheartedly that when the character of Rick Sanchez came about and why he did the voice he did, to where there was like all those, where it's like he like verps and burps constantly in the middle of his sentences, is because he did it intoxicated constantly, and he actually was doing that for real. When the voice was developed,
That's
it was
funny.
a real thing. Like he was so
that's
jacked up,
fucking nuts.
he kept burping in the middle of his sentences, and he left it as the character. So
Wow.
he
I didn't know
actually
that.
told that story in the first season. Yep. Yeah, that's how that whole entire Rick voice came apart, and that was supposed to kind of be the deal. Is like Rick is this completely unstable genius who's constantly intoxicated and wavering in and out of all kinds of dimensions. He just messed up, and by coincidence, Justin Roiland has a massive alcohol and drug problem. He was constantly, and he was really weird. He was like semi-reclusive. So when he'd go to do his voice recordings, he made sure like the rest of the staff was away from the studio. And most of the time, if anybody wanted to talk to him, they never got to talk to him in person. The vast majority of people who worked on the show never met him.
Whoa,
So,
that's nuts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he had a lot of stuff going on, and then the few that did were trying to press like sexual harassment suits against him because a few of the ones that
I
did meet
heard
him were
about.
females, and the females he was not very good with, and he said it was all jokes and stuff, but he was, being pretty much as indecent as the show, but in real life. So, apparently there was a lot more of the characters that he had in Rick and Morty that were a part of him than just Rick Sanchez, and he kind of let them all out.
It was catharsis.
Squanchy and all of them were all kind of coming out of that. Yep.
I'm squanching
man. That's right. Oh no, it's gonna get terrible.
I have one last
And
question.
Now I'm getting Swifty in my head. Yep,
Show
Get
me
Swifty
what
with
you got.
What did you think of the Popcorn Podcast format, TJ?
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun, brother, for sure. And I'm glad I was able to throw a couple grenades in there for everybody to have some fun.
Dude, your
with.
first
That
question
neat.
was good. I mean, they're all good, but you know what I mean. Like you let off with a good one.
Yeah,
Good lead
I
up.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun to take.
I'm
it
kind
from
of
that
wondering
angle
what
to where
people
we
are
have
going to
to
think
be-
about this episode. Like this episode was
There was
literally
some
all over the
devolution,
place. Isn't that's like us anyway? Like
That's true.
every episode we put out is all over the fucking place. Like we're
I think
dead
people
ass
got
serious.
the wrong idea that we're poliophiles.
Right.
Like,
No, they totally did.
That's not actually the case.
We got to
because
admit, we
it's like
hit Rumble really hard like that. You know what
We
I
did,
mean?
though, yeah.
We did, yeah. And no, you're totally right. Because like to your point, that question we got was like, "What's up with this paranormal stuff you guys are doing?" It's like, if you've not gone back and looked at the other 80 episodes we've done, like,
Yeah.
no,
Mhm.
people haven't, and people don't. That's actually some Aaron Love advice I got one time. I was talking to him a long time ago, and he's like, "Dude, you want to know a secret?" He goes, "No one is gonna listen to your old shit at all." He's like, so you could talk about the same fucking crap all the time and no one's gonna notice. He's like, maybe like one or two people that like actually like really, really like your content and will go back and watch it. He goes, but you could have the same conversation 40 times. And he's like, it's gonna be like the first fucking time every time for most people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy. That's so fucking true.
Yeah,
It's so
I can
fucking
certainly
true.
see that being the truth. For
I
sure.
love it. I love it when we get questions in the chat or in the comments about something we talked about 2 weeks ago.
I love that too.
And you're
Right.
like, we talked about that for like 30 minutes.
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, did you? But you guys knew this? Like, yeah, we did. We had a whole
Yeah.
fucking conversation about that. We really did. We had a whole conversation about a lot of other really weird shit. Like Mark Zuckerberg and his midget crew.
Yeah, that's right.
The SS
Yeah.
midget.
I gotta come up with a good, like I've got TV series stuff popping in my head, like some kind of a spinoff of the Love Boat. What do we call that?
Half a pint of love.
The Nug Cruise.
Nug cruise. A short
I think
cruise.
Dinghies.
A short
I think
cruise.
better. Dingies.
Dinghies. Fucking. I'm trying to think of something now. Hold on.
Pint sized.
Yeah. Water wings and I don't know. Damn it.
Dwarf's
Wish you
Gone
reminded
Wild.
me of the water wings
Dwarf-
thing so I can get
Dwarf's
back on
Gone
track too
Wild.
with that. Dwarf's Gone Wild. That's the late night infomercial that no one's watching, man.
Dude, yeah.
Well, actually, there's probably people who would watch it. What am I saying?
The Shallow End.
God, shallow end. That's the name of this fucking episode for sure.
The kiddie
dude.
pool.
That's the truth.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Short on
man.
size, not on
Shallow.
service. You know. If I was Mark Zuckerberg, dude, I would like get three of them to stand on each other, like wear a trench coat, and just like serve me when I'm drunk like that, dude. Like you're so tall.
We'll put a Marine Corps and Navy spin on it and call it the quarter deck.
Yeah.
It's like that scene in The Little Rascals.
Uh-huh.
But they have the.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
The beards on.
If you don't come back in a trench coat,
Yeah.
3 of you are going overboard with no water wings.
No!
Oh, the voice.
Fucking terrible, dude. He doesn't have the balls to do that, though. You know,
Mm.
if I had a yacht with midgets, it'd have to be some pretty fucking cool midgets. That's all I got to say.
You have to have a
Put up
whole
with some
entire
shit
crew
from
of
me,
wee
dude.
man.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, dude. You need it, like, you would totally need. They'd all have to be wee man like that, man. Because I'm gonna have some weird requests after midnight. You know what I
Oil
mean?
them.
Like,
Oil them all up and play shuffleboard on the back deck.
Why the fuck not, dude? Hey, listen, you're here, dude. You're here. This was you came on this
playing
Who
shuffleboard
motherfucker,
does
with-
slip and slide?
right?
playing shuffleboard with the. If you guys, of course, we're into old school South Park as well. I'm sure you saw the episode where Token tries to fit in because
Yes.
he's the rich kid, and
Right.
Mr. Garrison coins the term "the Richers."
Dude,
So when
South
you're on your
Park,
boat with
man.
the other Richers playing midget shuffleboard, you got your midget trained to sabotage.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna hang an arm out.
Bro, oh my god, dude, you need like a midget enforcer, otherwise they would like mutiny. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, dude.
And it's just like you have like a midget boss with like a necklace of like midget pinkies, you know? Because
He's just
I
wearing
could get
one-
really creative. Like, let's
He's
fucking
just wearing one normal sized medallion, but
Right.
it's dragging the floor. You know.
yeah. Dude, this is not multifunction as a flotation device. I still need water wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, you know, like, how do you go to bed? Like, do you have to have like a loft? You go to bed in safety, like relative safety. I don't know. I should just fucking kill myself when this is over. I'm so terrible, dude. Like, I'm gonna get a fucking letter in the mail one day. You know, it's gonna be in
Guaranteed.
letter 6 size font or number 6 font. You know, like half the size it should be. I'm gonna,
Oh no.
I'm gonna have to get a magnifying lens. You know, it's gonna be a lawsuit. You know,
I need you to
my
stop
God.
talking.
It's all gonna be in
Right.
Comic Sans.
I'm just gonna right. You know, I'm like, look at the law services of the Lollipop Guild. You know, terrible.
They're only allowed to speak in the language that the minions use on Despicable Me.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh god,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a combination of foods and Spanish.
Stop.
Right.
Stop.
Right. Please forward all responses to this litigation to Lilliputian Avenue. Like, oh, okay. There's a joke you'd have to read a book to
The
understand.
Lilliputians, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, Gravity Falls, dude.
Yeah. Gravity Falls, Jonathan Swift, Gulliver's Travels, you know.
Yeah.
All
Yep,
right,
the
well, you know,
Lilliputians there.
if you're still listening to this episode, which I actually thought was really good for the 3 hours, it wasn't. We had talked about a lot of short people, but it wasn't a short episode. You know what I mean?
That's correct.
You're right. Yeah. So we should probably just
Short
mail.
on people, long on content.
That's right.
Twice
Yeah.
the staff, half the salary, baby.
That's right. You know, shop for all my midgets at the Target Kids section.
Shout out to our boys over on Mark Claire Project too.
I
hope you
know,
guys
dude. Yeah. Oh
should have been here
God,
for this one.
they should have. They were here in spirit. You know, they had to be.
That's
That's
right.
where all these midget jokes are coming from, dude. Could you
Yeah.
just imagine like walking into fucking like Target somewhere, like I don't know, any store, right? And you just got like linen shorts on and fucking flip flops and like a linen shirt, and you just got like the worst Jew suntan ever because you're just fucking baked red because you're Mark Zuckerberg. And you've got like 15 fucking midgets walking with you, dude. Like all of them trying to keep up with you because
Rolling deep.
you're just pissed that you're just pissed that you're at the store because you had to buy them all fucking clothes again. You just buy the entire kids section, dude. They don't have like. They don't have like the right size fucking shoes to like you gotta like tell them to like get the fuck over it, you know, and you pay for it all on your
Just
fucking
walk up and get
yeah, dude,
kids.
yeah, exactly. Like you pay for it all on
You
your
just walk up to the people at the counter and you're like, get out.
get the fuck out, yeah. Like you just tell them you guys got 10 fucking minutes, you know, like and I'll be in the fucking yacht, like let's go, you know, and they get back on the boat and you like rant out about how grateful they should feel, but you're actually just a piece of shit and you go in your fucking like master bedroom and you cry about it, like that. The fuck is wrong with me, dude? I don't
I'm
know.
just thinking about how
Take it a serious
you would have
emotional
to
thing.
build like doggy doors into everything so they could
That's
just
what
like
I'm They would not. You
And then-
wouldn't have
and
to
then I
cut
was
their
also-
legs off to get them out of the vents, right, TJ?
I was also seeing a scene in my mind where it's like you had an unruly guest, and then you're just like you call for security, and then just like 40 midgets run out and just mob the dude.
Right. Right.
Throw him
Dude, they
That
just
reminded
they
me
just
of a
do that
story I
thing
was
where
gonna tell
like
you the
bees
other
do to
night.
wasps when they come into
Right,
the fucking
exactly.
nest. They just like sort really all just like get on them and start like shaking and like. Dude,
I've had a lot of
we
bad
would call it
visuals
the
coming out of
we
this.
gotta call it the midget mitten, dude, because it warms them up.
A midgeton.
Midget mitten, dude. Midget mitten.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my. I got this bad visual of them being used as torpedoes.
Some
for
of them are
reason.
wearing speedos. Some of them in little white suits and shit, dude.
Cannonballed.
Like, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, like Baywatch.
You guys are also assuming that they're all male.
Oh,
Yeah, true.
oh, dude.
I mean,
That's very true.
it's a great point. Now you're just opening an entire another door that I hadn't, dude. Yeah, like, man.
Oh, do you guys require some female companionship? Because we have that on staff.
Right. If Chris wasn't in enough trouble already, dude, just wait till the. Just wait, dude. Hey, they were making fun of Asians, and now midgets. I would say they leveled up, but really they just took it a half a step down.
Yeah.
Well, we did both earlier. We were
did.
talking about yellow dwarfs.
Right.
So,
Listen, every opinion that was stated here tonight is solely that of the individual that stated it. It is not representative of any other entity, especially not the DoD.
No. Department of Dwarfs.
the Department of Dwarfs, that's exactly where I was.
This was all meant for your entertainment.
They're all short range missiles, dude. It's not high Mars, it's low Mars.
That's right.
Oh my! The last 10 minutes of this episode is the best, dude. See, for listening this long, you got the total unhinged version of everybody, dude.
This is what we devolve into by this point.
Dude, yeah. Oh my god. Dude, every
Oh, no.
shit is an ICBM, you know? IC bowel movements.
Yep, exactly. That is the truth, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Check out our sponsors, or don't, I guess, because, but please do, for real. Go over to Protect.
And even though this was a long episode, we will make sure that we make some shorts of it.
Right. Yeah. Protect is PROTEKT. Protect.com. Killcliff, spelled just like as it sounds.
We'll have to have our IBS come in and chop this one off.
We will.
Our itty bitty staff.
That's right. The IBS. That's right. Go check out the sponsors in the show notes. Thanks for keeping this shit wagon on the air. And yeah, thanks. We love you guys so much. For real. If you've heard the last... Hey, I'm going to say this. If you listen to this episode all the way through, right? And I'm going to say
True
this
Fire
too.
Fam.
And True Fire Fam, right? Right. Hey, listen, though. If you're listening to this episode, not on the Saturday morning premiere, because there's going to be people that hear this all the way through to the end, but if you're listening to it beyond Saturday and you hear this part, send us a message on Instagram. I'll mail you something. You made it this far. How about that? I didn't say what it is, though.
Set of water wings.
Right, yeah, set of water rings. Mm-hmm.
Get your own I Came
All right.
with Fire waterway.
Yeah. That's the first thing in the merch store we're going to have, dude. No one's going to get it. What the fuck is this? They just like sell kids stuff, Like, that's it, man. That's it. All right.
Yeah, we have size small, medium, large, extra large, and youth husky.
That's right. Yeah. Husky, dude. That's the ninth dwarf right there, dude. Fucking husky. Where's Husky? I don't know. Dude, Grumpy killed him. All
I
right.
don't know, for some reason, Diabito came to mind.
Diabito. Oh, that's the left.
You can
That's
have
the
that
left.
cookie, Diabito.
That's the left behind one. He'll be here eventually. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, you guys have a good night. Bye.
Love
Peace.
y'all.